Chapter 4180. Finally receiving a reply from Shangguan Laner, Ning Xuefei naturally couldn't wait to share it with Han Jingjing. Looking at Lin Yi's recent situation, especially the strong performance of killing Su Zhaohe in one move, the two women sincerely felt happy for Lin Yi. Brother Lin Yi is really powerful. He is already at the early stage of gold core. We also have to work hard, otherwise we can't keep up with brother Lin Yi's footsteps, Han Jingjing said with a look of admiration and determination. Well, it's not good to fall behind too much. Ning Xuefei nodded in agreement and said, Jingjing, you haven't used your foundation establishment pill yet. Take it quickly to upgrade. Yes, that's what I was thinking. We've hit a bottleneck with our automated crafting machine. I'm sure we'll be able to solve it once we get stronger. If we succeed, we'll be able to solve Big Bro Lin's problems. Han Jingjing said seriously. Yes, our automatic casting mechanism can perfectly solve this kind of fire control problem. It just happens to be of help to him. We have to work hard. Ning Xuefei cheered them on. Well, let's work hard together. Han Jingjing said nothing and immediately took the best foundation establishment pill and began to meditate to break through. Although she did not pursue strength, in order to help Lin Yi, she was willing to try anything. Ordinary days always passed in a flash. Recently, Lin Yi's life could be said to be uneventful. During this time, those forces against Lin Yi, his group of enemies, all coincidentally stopped. And Lin Yi was also happy to be idle. Although he still could not solve the problem of the casting not being able to take shape, he did not let this matter affect his normal cultivation. He was getting closer and closer to the peak of the early stage of gold core. As the days passed, the one-year period of welcoming pavilion's newcomers was approaching. But a big event happened in the three pavilions of the North Island. Su Lingchong, the young master of Soaring Sky Pavilion who disappeared a few months ago, actually came back. As soon as the news came out, everyone in the three pavilions was shocked. Many people were surprised and suspicious. Su Lingchong's disappearance was confirmed by the law enforcement hall. He absconded in fear of being punished for the attempted rape of Shanghai Laner. He had been wanted for a long time in the whole North Island, but there had been no news of him. It was not until some time ago that the law enforcement hall suddenly withdrew the wanted order. Everyone thought that it was because they could not find the person, so they could only leave it be. Behind them, Su Yuanzhang, the third elder of the Soaring Sky Pavilion, was also contributing. Cancel the wanted order to avoid being laughed at by others. Little did he know that even Su Yuanjing himself was baffled by this matter. He thought that it was Shanghai Tianhua who had come forward to say hello. After all, this matter was related to Shanghai Laner, and it was not convenient for others to come forward to say anything. Moreover, apart from Shanghai Tianhua, Ram Jia never gave face to anyone else in the three pavilions. What no one expected was that as soon as the arrest warrant was lifted, young Master Su, who had disappeared for several months, would suddenly appear again. It couldn't be someone with ulterior motives. Was it a smoke bomb deliberately released? This rumor was finally confirmed after Su Lingchong appeared. This young Master Su, who was once popular. Sure enough, he was back. What was even more shocking was that Su Lingchong, who appeared again, was completely different from the previous image of a young master. Not only did his long hair flutter, but there was also a bit of inexplicable evil in his speech and behavior, which made people unconsciously feel strange. And the most shocking thing was that Su Lingchong, who was only at the peak of foundation establishment before. Now, only a few months later, he actually had the powerful strength of the middle stage of gold core. The shock brought by this news was even no less than the discovery that Lin Yi was an expert at the early stage of gold core. In just a few months, he not only succeeded in forming his core, but also rose 3 levels in a row. This was simply a fantasy. Countless people had the same question in their hearts. How on earth did he do it? It was true that there were strange talents every year, but there were especially many this year. If Su Lingchong's sudden return brought shock to the three pavilions, then the happiest person was his grandfather, Su Yuanzheng. As the big boss of the Elders Union, Su Yuanjing could be said to be mentally and physically exhausted during this period of time. For so many years, Su Lingchong, this grandson of his, had always been his sole heir. Apart from Su Lingchong, there was no other young person in the Su family who could take his place. Unlike ordinary families, the ancestors of the Su family were all local big families on the North Island. They were deeply rooted and powerful. The heir not only needed bloodline, but also strong strength. Otherwise, he would not be able to control the situation, let alone be the head of the family. Looking at all the young people of the Su family, there was only one person who met this condition, Su Lingchong. Therefore, after Su Lingchong's sudden disappearance, this big boss Su Yuanjing was really anxious. The more powerful the family, the more importance it attached to the inheritance. Once something happened to the heir, the consequences would be unimaginable. Even with Su Yuanjing, this big boss, suppressing from above, he still could not stop the turbulent undercurrent. During this period of time, the Su family, including many of the collateral forces attached to the Su family, had obviously begun to be restless. But now, with the sudden return of Su Lingchong, especially with the amazing strength of the middle stage gold core realm, all these problems were solved. How could he improve his strength to such an amazing level in just a few months? This was a question that Su Yuanjing would certainly ask, and the answer Su Lingchong gave was that he had received guidance from a mysterious expert, so he could have such progress. Although Su Yuanjing still had doubts in his heart, of course, the stronger his grandson was, the better. Since Su Lingchong himself was unwilling to say more, he would not get to the bottom of it, but he was sincerely happy. However, if Su Yuanjing knew that Su Lingchong had castrated himself, he did not know if the third elder of Rising Sky Pavilion would still be able to laugh. Other than Su Yuanjing, the one who was the happiest about Su Lingchong's return was Kang Mingming, who used to be his follower. This was his biggest support before, and now he had returned with the domineering strength of the middle stage gold core realm. Moreover, because the arrest warrant was not settled, Shanghai Tianhua and Ram Jie did not say anything. The suspicion on Su Lingchong's head had disappeared. Therefore, as soon as he returned, he once again occupied the position of the big brother in charge of Rising Sky Pavilion. This was definitely a thick thigh. Even the previously popular Lin Yi could not be compared to the current Su Lingchong, so how could he not embrace him? When Kang Xiaoming heard the news, he immediately went to seek shelter. Although he was already an outer member of the guild center, it wasn't a bad thing to have someone to rely on. Zhong Pingliang, on the other hand, wanted to find out more about Su Lingchong, so he went with him. Chapter 4181. Seeing that Su Lingchong's temperament had changed greatly, the two of them were shocked and looked at each other. Su Lingchong did not look surprised, but just glanced at the two of them lightly. "You're here? Where's the one called Si Haishao?" Su Lingchong asked directly. Si Haishao? Kang Mingming could not help but wonder, "Young Master Su, you also know shopkeeper Si? But, he wasn't with us before, right?" "He wasn't before, but he is now." "Go and call him over," Su Lingchong instructed lightly. Kang Mingming did not dare to neglect and immediately went out to invite Si Haishao from the Central Chamber of Commerce. Along the way, Si Haishao could not help but be puzzled and nervous. Su Lingchong suddenly called him over. What did this mean? Could it be that the secret alliance with Kang Mingming and the others, and the matter of pulling them into the periphery of the Central Chamber of Commerce had been discovered by Su Lingchong? He was dissatisfied with being poached by him, so he wanted to make an example out of him. Muttering in his heart, Si Haishao finally decided to come and take a look. Although Su Lingchong had made a strong comeback, and most people had to take a detour, Si Haishao was not someone to be trifled with. In terms of strength, he was stronger than a middle-stage gold core. In terms of status, he was also the spokesperson of the North Island of the Central Chamber of Commerce. He was not afraid of Su Lingchong in any aspect. In the future, whether Su Lingchong was an enemy or a friend, and how he should face this young master of Soaring Sky Pavilion, he had to personally come and confirm. Unexpectedly, when he came to Soaring Sky Pavilion with such thoughts, Su Lingchong's reaction was far beyond Si Haixiao's expectations. You are Si Haixiao? Very good, follow me in the future. Su Lingchong glanced at him and nodded lightly. What? Si Haixiao was momentarily stunned, and his expression immediately turned ugly. This young Master Su must be fucking sick in the head. I'm the manager of the Central Chamber of Commerce, and even someone like Southern Polar Light calls me an old friend. Why would I fight with you for no reason? For a moment, the atmosphere suddenly became tense. Kang Mingming and the others looked at each other, not daring to make a sound. Young Master Su, it's true that you're the big senior brother in charge of the Soaring Pavilion, but I'm the manager of the North Island branch of the Central Chamber of Commerce. We belong to different branches, and we're not on the same path at all. Don't you think your words are too rude? Si Haixiao said in a low voice. Hee, is that so? Su Lingchong smiled indifferently and suddenly threw out a photo. It was a photo of him and the mysterious man in black, and a handwritten letter was thrown out together with it, which clearly stated that Su Lingchong was appointed as the deputy manager of the North Island Center, and was fully responsible for the affairs of the North Island Center. The deputy manager of the North Island Center? How could this be? Upon seeing this, Si Haixiao was shocked. This was much more powerful than the North Island intelligence group that he was secretly in charge of. However, Su Lingchong's strength was obviously not as high as his. I have a backer in the center. I am the direct disciple of Master Pao. That is an existence that even the mysterious man in black has to revere. Do you understand now? Su Lingchong saw through the other party's doubts. He said proudly. Ah. Master Pao. Si Haixiao was shocked and confused, but he could not refute. He could only lower his head and carefully read the appointment letter in his hand. There was a unique symbol of the center on it. This could not be faked at all. Moreover, he was in charge of intelligence, so it was impossible to get away with it in front of his eyes. In fact, when he saw the photo for the first time, he already believed Su Lingchong. Although the mysterious man in black still did not show his face, his figure and temperament could not be disguised by others. Moreover, Su Lingchong suddenly disappeared and returned. Within a few months, he suddenly became an expert at the middle stage of the Gold Core realm. This matter was full of strangeness. According to common sense, it could not be explained at all. However, if he joined the center, then it could be understood. Yes, Master. Si Haixiao had no choice but to lower his head and say to Su Lingchong helplessly. At the same time, he glanced at Kang Mingming. It seemed that this guy was going to be rich in the future. He had found a powerful backer. That's great. I didn't expect Master Su to be one of the top figures in our center. Congratulations, Master Su. Kang Mingming saw the situation and quickly flattered him. Zhong Pingliang followed along, but he couldn't help but mutter in his heart. The young master of the Soaring Pavilion had become one of the top figures in the center. Su Lingchong was like a hen turning into a duck in the blink of an eye. Moreover, why did the Master Pao that he mentioned sound a little weird? At this time, Su Lingchong turned his head. His gaze went past Si Haixiao and landed on Murongzhen, who came with him today. This shocked Murongzhen. Greetings, Master Su. I offended Miss Shangguan last time. I apologize to Master Su here. I hope that Master Su will forgive me and let me go, Murongzhen quickly said carefully. Shangguan Laner? Su Lingchong waved his hand indifferently and said faintly, it's just a woman. It doesn't matter. Since you've joined the center, you're one of us. Let's forget about what happened in the past. Chapter 4182. By the way, how is that Meng Tong now? Su Lingchong suddenly asked. Apart from Meng Jueguang who had died long ago, among the forces he cultivated in the Welcome Pavilion, only Meng Tong was not present. 3W, he, has changed a lot during this time. His temperament has changed a lot. It's like he's a completely different person. He usually secludes himself in the cave and rarely comes out. Kang Mingming answered. Well, what about Lin Yi? When I just came back, I heard that you guys were defeated again and again. Su Lingchong changed the topic. He had heard about Lin Yi's strong return and instantly killing Su Zhaohe. He asked this to confirm it. Ugh. Yes. Everyone looked at each other and nodded submissively. They really didn't know what to do with Lin Yi right now. Humph, you bunch of useless trash. Su Lingchong scolded coldly, and then said with a look of disdain, forget it, let's wait for me to do it myself. Wahahaha, with Master Pao's teachings, no matter how that Lin Yi jumps around, he's just a grasshopper after autumn. He's not far from death. Young Master Su is mighty. Kang Mingming quickly took the lead to flatter him. Young Master Su, may I ask who that Master Pao is? Si Haishao asked carefully. He was the highest level among these people, and he specialized in intelligence. However, even he had never heard of such a powerful person like Master Pao in the center. Is this something that a servant like you can ask? Su Lingchong glanced at him with dissatisfaction, but when he saw everyone's curiosity, he could not help but praise. In short, Master Pao is very powerful. He's one of the top figures in our center. I have already cultivated Master Pao's unique divine skill, the Chrysanthemum Treasure Book. Ah. Chrysanthemum Treasure Book? Everyone's expression suddenly changed. It was rumored that this was a peerless ancient divine skill. Even the Heaven Stage Island had been extinct for many years. It was said that there was only one sect in the secular world. Until now, there was still an inheritance. Su Lingchong had actually cultivated such a peerless divine skill. But thinking about it carefully, the Central Chamber of Commerce could trade with the secular world, so it wasn't impossible for them to obtain such an unparalleled divine art from the secular world. Pinliang's face was filled with shock as well, but his focus was completely different from the others. Master Pao? Chrysanthemum Treasure Book? Holy shit. This great Pao wouldn't be Zhang Naipeo, would it? Fuck, this kid better not betray us. I was pretending to join the center, but this Zhang Naipeo kid. He seemed to be doing quite well in the center. No, this is important information. I have to think of a way to inform Boss Lin Yi. Master Su, congratulations on your amazing martial arts. From now on, Master Su will definitely be the best among the younger generation of the 3 pavilions. Kang Mingming quickly flattered, but he was just as surprised as Pinliang was. After all, he knew Zhang Naipeo, Master Pao and the Chrysanthemum art were 2 distinct labels, and any normal person wouldn't be able to help but think about it. Of course, doubts were just doubts. Before actually meeting this Master Pao, everything was just a guess, so he could only temporarily suppress it in his heart. Otherwise, he would really have to say it out in front of everyone. If he guessed correctly, it would be fine, but if he guessed incorrectly, not only would he make a fool out of himself, but he would also anger Master Pao. That wouldn't be worth it. Humph, dominating the 3 pavilions is only the first step, the path I'm going to take in the future. There's still a long way to go. Su Lingchong smiled proudly. After joining the center, his vision was completely different from before. Originally, young Master Su had wholeheartedly wanted to take over Su Yuanjing's position and become Shengguan Tianhua's son-in-law, allowing the Su family to rise to the next level. But now, this was already child's play to Su Lingchong. His ambition was far greater than this. With the support of the center, he had power and influence. As long as he advanced step by step, he wouldn't have to worry about not being able to achieve great things. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, everyone, including Si Haishao, fought to be the first to flatter Su Lingchong. They flattered him until he was overjoyed, and only then did they disperse. Right, Zhao Ming, Pinliang, accompany me to Welcome Pavilion. I want to see that brat Meng Tong. Su Lingchong stopped the 2 of them. He paused for a while and suddenly sneered, I can also go and take a look at Lin Yi. Isn't this guy in the limelight now? I want to see how much he has grown. When he spoke of Lin Yi, Su Lingchong's originally feminine bearing suddenly became even more sinister, and he was like a venomous snake spitting out its scarlet red tongue, causing the hairs of everyone present to unconsciously stand on end. Although joining the center was a blessing in disguise for Su Lingchong, he didn't forget that day when he was wiped off by little curly bear Ka. Almost every time he closed his eyes, he would think of that day, and it was like a nightmare that he couldn't get rid of. And the main culprit that caused all this was Lin Yi, who meddled in other people's business. After that, he was accidentally brought into the center by the mysterious man in black. Speaking of which, he still had to thank Lin Yi, but the way to thank him was naturally to find an opportunity to make him pay with his blood. Yes. Kang Mingming and Zhong Pinliang looked at each other and answered excitedly. Kang Xiaoming led the way in high spirits. He'd been suppressed by Lin Yi for so long, and he'd been given the cold shoulder by the head of the welcoming pavilion, Hu Yunfeng. He was a new deacon who'd lost his backer, and he wasn't what he used to be. Many newcomers didn't take him seriously anymore. But now, with Su Lingchong's strong return, he could finally use Su Lingchong's power to intimidate him again, and he could act cool in the welcome pavilion again. Zhong Pinliang, on the other hand, was pretending to be excited. The only thing on his mind right now was to find an opportunity to leak the information to boss Lin Yi. Zhang Naipeo's matter was very important. The three of them immediately went to the welcome pavilion. Hu Yunfeng, who was one of House Su's people, received the news and quickly came out to welcome them. However, when the group arrived at the Blue Cloud Pavilion's newcomers' cave, they didn't see Lin Yi. According to the reports from the other newcomers in the Blue Cloud Pavilion, Lin Yi had just been called away by Shanghai Laner not long ago. He left with Shangguan Laner? Su Lingchong's face changed when he heard that, but quickly returned to normal. He didn't have any love for Shangguan Laner anymore, just like how he treated Lin Yi. All he had left was anger and bone-deep hatred. Chapter 4183. Forget it. If that's the case, then I'll go check on Meng Tong. Either of you go and keep an eye on him. When you find Lin Yi, or when he comes back, report to me. Su Lingchong paused and said coldly, also, you two go take a good look at him and see if he and Laner are together or not. This, together, wasn't referring to Lin Yi and Laner fooling around together, but to see if the two were in cahoots. This would affect how he would deal with Lin Yi. After all, if they really were together, he would have to worry about Shanghai Tianhua. That. Kang Mingming and Zhong Pingliang looked at each other, obviously unwilling. Today, they came back with Master Su, and this was a chance to show off. Who wouldn't want to show off by Su Lingchong's side? If they were sent to keep an eye on him, then they wouldn't be able to show off anymore. Especially Kang Mingming, he was waiting for this chance to regroup and show off his power as a new deacon. How could he be sent out like this? Being stared at by Su Lingchong like this, Kang Mingming was anxious. He quickly looked at Zhong Pingliang and pretended to cough. Master Su, then why don't I go? Pinliang said, understanding what Lin Yi was implying. The reluctance on his face was an act, of course. He was waiting for this chance to send a message to Lin Yi's boss, but he couldn't appear too enthusiastic. Okay, you go. Su Lingchong nodded indifferently. Kang Mingming was secretly happy and gave Zhong Pingliang a thumbs up. He was very satisfied with Zhong Pingliang's initiative. Although his position was slightly threatened when Su Lingchong went missing, now that Master Su was back, his position naturally rose again. In terms of relationship with Su Lingchong, he was much closer than Zhong Pingliang. But it was rare for Zhong Pingliang to be so tactful. It seemed like he could help him in the future. He could be the scapegoat at the crucial moment. Pinliang turned around and left, chuckling at the same time. Kang Mingming was still counting the money after being sold. If it weren't for him, he wouldn't have gotten the chance to tip off boss Lin Yi. Although Lin Yi was not in the cave residence, he knew Lin Yi very well. Since he was called out by Shanghai Laner, he most likely went to the grove, which was the place they often played. He sent Pin Liang out to keep a lookout. Kang Ming Ming, on the other hand, continued to follow Su Lingchong. They arrived at the entrance of Meng Tong's cave residence and touched the cave residence's restriction. Young Master Su, you're back. Meng Tong opened the door of the cave abode and saw a group of people waiting in front of him. Especially Su Lingchong, who was the leader. He was immediately shocked. During this period of time, he had been cultivating in seclusion and rarely came out. Everyone outside knew about this rumor. Everyone knew that he had never heard of it. He didn't care about the other Kang Ming Ming's group, but when he suddenly saw his long-lost backer, it would be strange if he wasn't surprised. Su Lingchong looked at Meng Tong, who seemed to be a different person. His eyes couldn't help but light up, and he was a little surprised. The previous Meng Tong was a complete idiot cannon fodder, but the current Meng Tong. Not only was his strength different from before, but more importantly, his entire image and temperament had become unfathomable. A head of white hair fluttering in the wind. He had a different kind of charm. Su Lingchong's heart moved slightly, and he waved his hand to the people behind him, ordering, "Zhao Ming, you guard outside, I'll go in and have a good chat with Meng Tong." After saying that, Su Lingchong took the initiative to pull Meng Tong into the cave abode, and the two of them walked into the cave abode, closing the door in restriction. No one knew what they were going to do in there, leaving only Kang Ming Ming, Hu Yunfeng, and the rest, looking at each other at the door. At this moment, in the small forest, Lin Yi was sitting together and chatting with Shangguan Laner, while Huang Xiaotao was at the side, playing with the little curly bear. Hee, Little White seems to like playing with Xiaotao recently. Lin Yi couldn't help but raise his eyebrows in surprise. Although this little guy wasn't very shy, other than Shangguan Laner and himself, it rarely took the initiative to get close to others. He didn't expect it to hit it off so well with Huang Xiaotao. It's trying so hard to please senior sister Xiaotao, but it actually has an ulterior motive. Shangguan Laner giggled. Why do you say that? Lin Yi asked curiously. Little White played with senior sister Xiaotao's spirit bird for an afternoon last time, and in the end, he fell in love with the feeling of flying on the bird. He couldn't stop at all, and I had to coax him for a long time before he went to sleep. Shangguan Laner pouted. Oh. Little White is preparing to become a flying knight, and his ambition is great. Lin Yi laughed. It's not a bad thing, at least it's much better than dragging the big scissors around to scare people every day. Since the birthday banquet, when it carelessly killed Su Lingchong, the little curly bear inexplicably fell in love with the big scissors, and it simply couldn't put it down even when it was eating or sleeping. It really gave everyone a headache for a while, but now the little guy's interest had finally shifted. Hee, that's true. Shangguan Laner stuck out her tongue, and suddenly her expression changed. Speaking of this, little junior brother, have you heard that Su Lingchong is back? Yes, I've already heard about this. They said that this young Master Su has changed a lot. He's now a master in the middle phase of the Golden Elixir realm. He's really awesome. Lin Yi nodded as usual. I don't know what Ram Jia is thinking. He actually cancelled his wanted order, and after offending me, he actually let him come back to show off. It's really infuriating. Shangguan Laner said angrily. Cancelling the wanted order, this is Ram Jia's own decision. Isn't it Su Yuanzheng or other higher-ups who are pressuring him? Lin Yi's heart moved. The rumors in the streets were all Su Yuanzheng's work, but if it was Ram Jia's initiative, then the meaning revealed in this was a bit thought-provoking. I don't know about this, but the Silent Gourd is the law enforcement hall master. If he didn't agree, no matter what other people do, there is definitely no way to cancel the wanted order, this is certain. Although Shangguan Laner never cared about these things, but she was influenced by what she saw and heard, she was also clear about the knack of this. Is it really Ram Jia's initiative to nod? Lin Yi thoughtfully pinched his chin. He had also dealt with Ram Jia before. According to his understanding, this person was extremely arrogant and confident. If he was not willing, even God would not be able to make him bow down. Who knows, the most important problem now is that Su Lingchong, that guy, came back aggressively this time. He definitely has bad intentions towards you, little junior brother. Shangguan Laner said with a worried face. Chapter 4184. Although Su Lingchong's sudden return had indeed surprised him, but now things were different. With his current strength, this young Master Su could no longer pose a fatal threat to him. But, Su Zhaohe is only at the early stage of Gold Core, and Su Lingchong is a middle stage Gold Core Master? Shanghai Laner couldn't help but remind him. Don't worry, it's fine. Lin Yi smiled faintly. Although he was only at the early stage of Gold Core, he was the strongest Gold Core Master who had a perfect breakthrough. Even if he was facing a middle stage Gold Core Master, it was not a problem. Even if he couldn't kill him in one move, suppressing the opponent was not a problem. He had this confidence. Then, little junior brother, you have to be careful. I have seen Su Lingchong from afar before, and I feel that this guy is indeed different from before. From afar, he has an indescribable evil aura, and I always feel that he is neither yin nor yang. Moreover, he has been back for so many days, but he hasn't come to harass me. Shanghai Laner blinked her big eyes and said. If it was the previous Su Lingchong, no matter what, he would come to pester her every 2 to 3 days. Now that he was ignoring her like this, it was as if the sun rose from the west. You can't blame Su Lingchong for this matter. The source is Little White. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile. Su Lingchong had been killed. If he could be masculine, then he would really see a ghost. As the two were talking, Zhong Pingliang rushed in from the forest path far away, winking at Lin Yi from afar. Lin Yi saw it and knew that something had happened. He told Shanghai Laner and quickly walked over. Boss Lin Yi, this is bad. Zhong Pingliang said in shock. What's wrong? Lin Yi looked at him in surprise. Su Lingchong is back. He has become a middle stage Gold Core Master. He is unprecedentedly strong. And his entire temperament has changed. Zhong Pingliang reported. Yes. I already know this. Little senior sister also told me just now. Lin Yi nodded, still calm as usual. No, it's like this. I just heard it from his own mouth. He's now the vice manager of the North Island, and he's practicing the chrysanthemum art. The one who taught him this art is a high-ranking member of the North Island, Master Pao. Pinliang told Lin Yi everything he'd heard and seen. What? Chrysanthemum treasure book? Master Pao? After listening, Lin Yi's expression became a little strange. Seeing Lin Yi's expression, Pinliang knew that he was thinking the same thing. Boss Lin Yi, this Master Pao you're talking about isn't that Pao kid, is it? Well, it's hard to say. Lin Yi frowned, you know Nai Pao the best. Are you sure it's him? I guess so. Pinliang nodded heavily and gritted his teeth, but this kid better not betray us. Fuck, if he dares to, I'll kill him myself. Yes, we can't verify this for now. Let's wait and see. Just keep an eye on Su Lingchong, Lin Yi thought about it. Suddenly hearing this news, he felt that things seemed to have become a little complicated. This mysterious and unpredictable center. What kind of god was it? Why did the Middle Island and the North Island have them, and they were all so powerful? Back in the common world, Lin Yi had heard of the center's name. Jiang Wen seemed to be with them. Elder Xianchen also worked with the center, but there were only a few biohumans at that time. They didn't pay too much attention to it. How did they come to Sky Island now? How did the center become so powerful? Were the center of the common world and the center of Sky Island the same people, or was it just a coincidence of names and they had nothing to do with each other? If the two centers were the same, then they would be able to extend their tentacles into the secular world and Heaven Stage Island at the same time. Then this mysterious central force would truly be a bit shocking. Alright, I'll listen to you, boss. Right, Su Lingchong is at the Welcome Pavilion now. He wanted to see you, but you weren't there, so he sent me out to keep watch. What do you plan to do, boss? Do you want to go back and meet him, or just ignore him? I'll just say that I didn't find you, Pinliang said. No need, I'll go back and meet him. Lin Yi smiled faintly. To be honest, I'm a little curious about what this Master Su has become. After saying that, Lin Yi turned to say goodbye to Sheng Wanlaner and Huang Xiaotao, and immediately followed Zhong Pingliang back to the welcoming pavilion. The door to the welcome pavilion opened again, and Su Lingchong and Meng Tong walked out with smiles on their faces, one on the left and the other on the right, walking side by side. This is my partner from now on, you guys have to call him Meng Bro. Su Lingchong instructed Kong Ming and the others. Ah. Kong Ming was stunned, and Pinliang came back at that moment. He couldn't help but grin when he saw the scene. No matter how he looked at the relationship between these two, something didn't seem right. It was a little weird, wasn't it? Speaking of which, when did Master Su become so courteous? Although Meng Tong had become more unfathomable than before, he couldn't be compared to Si Haishao in terms of strength or status. Master Su didn't even care about Si Haishao before, so why was he so nice to Meng Tong? And he even called him Meng Bro? Meng Tong was just a small cannon fodder in the past. When did his status become so high that he could step on their heads? How is it? Where's Lin Yi? Su Lingchong stood side by side with Meng Tong, ignoring everyone's weird expressions as he turned to Pinliang and asked. I saw him walking this way just now, he should be back. Pinliang nodded. Okay, let's go take a look. Su Lingchong's lips curled into a cold smile as he immediately led everyone towards Lin Yi's cave. At the entrance of the cave, Su Lingchong and the others just happened to meet Lin Yi, who came back specially. Looking at Lin Yi, who seemed to have been reborn, Su Lingchong's cold and vicious eyes couldn't help but focus slightly. Lin Yi looked him up and down, also a little surprised. With a body full of evil aura, Su Lingchong's current temperament was neither yin nor yang, but it was especially compatible with Meng Tong, who was standing beside him with the same temperament. Both sides met, and before they spoke, Su Lingchong's cold aura suddenly became ferocious and violent. The powerful aura of a middle-stage golden core master poured out without holding back, like a sudden eruption of a mountain torrent, pressing down on Lin Yi's head. Lin Yi's side also didn't want to be outdone, his aura also increased greatly. Although he was only at the early stage of golden core, 2 levels lower than Su Lingchong, but facing Su Lingchong's overbearing pressure, he didn't move and didn't seem to be at a disadvantage. Chapter 4185. As for the other newcomers present, with their mere foundation establishment stage strength, standing here was simply like a small boat in a monstrous wave, swaying unsteadily, with the possibility of capsizing at any time. This was still Su Lingchong and Lin Yi, both focusing their attention on each other. Otherwise, if they were to switch targets, these ordinary newcomers would probably be directly crushed by the imposing manner. People only need to look at you once, and you will fall to the ground by yourself. They were all newcomers, but this was the difference between them and Lin Yi. Both sides confronted each other, and for a moment, the entire welcoming pavilion seemed to have the momentum of a coming storm. Perhaps the weather was just a coincidence, but at this moment, everyone's heart already felt a heavy pressure, especially to the surrounding ordinary newcomers. It was like the déjà vu of mortals suffering in a battle between immortals. However, although the imposing manner of both sides confronted each other tensely, regardless of whether it was Su Lingchong or Lin Yi, neither of them had the intention to make a move. Lin Yi needn't be mentioned, and although Su Lingchong wanted to kill Lin Yi, he couldn't attack Lin Yi without a reason, or else he would be arrested by the law enforcement hall and punished in public. Lin Yi, this young master heard that you seem to be very arrogant recently. Su Lingchong suddenly curled his lips and smiled coldly. Hee, Senior Su, you flatter me. I'm just living my life, but I can't stand some people who don't have eyes. They always send themselves to be abused, so I can only reluctantly do it, Lin Yi replied indifferently. Very good, since you are already a golden core initial stage expert, it is rare for a newcomer to have such a performance, it is worthy of praise. Su Lingchong didn't seem to hear the mockery in Lin Yi's words, and instead suggested, "This young master can make the decision to make an exception and recruit you as an official disciple of the Soaring Sky Pavilion. Are you willing?" As soon as these words came out, the surrounding people immediately went into an uproar. The Soaring Sky Pavilion was the most powerful among the 3 pavilions, this was without a doubt, and regardless of resources or status, it was a lot higher than the other 2 pavilions. Under normal circumstances, any Profound Secrets Pavilion or Clear Cloud Pavilion disciple who had the chance to join the Soaring Sky Pavilion was a dream come true. Su Lingchong, as the eldest senior brother in charge of the Soaring Sky Pavilion and the grandson of the 3rd elder of the Soaring Sky Pavilion, Su Yuanjing, did indeed have such authority in his hands. As long as there was a suitable reason, it was not too difficult for him to get someone to join the Soaring Sky Pavilion. "I'm not willing." Lin Yi's answer was concise and clear, causing the surrounding people to be taken aback. "Huh?" Su Lingchong was immediately stunned. The reason why he suddenly made this suggestion was because actually, his ultimate goal was to teach Lin Yi a lesson. After all, with his current identity, he was one of the representatives of Soaring Sky Pavilion. It was simply inconvenient for him to make a move against Lin Yi. Moreover, if he wanted to challenge Lin Yi like Su Zhaohe before, he would not have an official reason to do so. After all, he could not make the matter of his self-castration public. However, if he could get Lin Yi into the Soaring Sky Pavilion, then as the eldest senior brother in charge of the Soaring Sky Pavilion, it would be a piece of cake for him. At that time, it would be a piece of cake for him to pinch and flatten, and Lin Yi wouldn't be able to escape from his palms. However, he did not expect that. Lin Yi rejected it without hesitation. Could it be that this guy had seen through his intentions? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you reject it now, this road will be blocked by you. Don't even think about entering the Soaring Sky Pavilion in the future. Have you thought it through? Su Lingchong was still unwilling to give up. "I'll just stay here. It's pretty good. Senior brother Su, you don't have to worry about me." Lin Yi was stubborn. He looked Su Lingchong up and down and then said with a playful expression, "Senior brother Su, it's great to see that you're fine." However, he, Lin Yi's laughter was baffling to the bystanders, but Su Lingchong was well aware of it. Motherfucker, this kid was laughing at him for losing his family jewels. "What are you laughing at?" Su Lingchong was instantly pissed off by his laughter. He said furiously, "If you laugh again, believe it or not, this young master will kill you right now. You control the heavens and the earth, and you still care whether I laugh or not. The authority of the Soaring Sky Pavilion's eldest senior brother in charge isn't so exaggerated, right?" Lin Yi looked at him mischievously. "Humph, Lin Yi, you have guts. You better be careful. Don't let this young master get hold of you." Su Lingchong was so angry that he gnashed his teeth. However, he could not make a move against Lin Yi. He could only turn around and leave with a gloomy face. He really did not expect that Lin Yi, this fellow, was actually not afraid in the slightest when facing the current him. "Looks like this kid is not as easy to deal with as I imagined. I have to plan properly in the future. Lin Yi and Shangguan Laner, these two must pay the price." As he looked at Su Lingchong's disappearing figure, the corners of Lin Yi's mouth slightly curled. He has come with ill intentions. Since this fellow has returned, then he will surely look for trouble with me. I really have to be careful in the future. In the following period of time, Lin Yi rarely went out, and he cultivated behind closed doors within his own abode every day. Originally, he had already faintly touched the barrier of the peak of the initial stage of the Golden Core realm, and he originally thought that he would be able to break through in one go. However, he didn't know why he seemed to have encountered a bottleneck. He was obviously only left with the last small step, yet he was unable to cross it all along, and he didn't know where the problem was. Besides this, another matter caused Lin Yi to be rather surprised. Su Lingchong actually didn't come looking for trouble with him. During this period of time, Su Lingchong continuously attended various occasions, and he once again became the big senior brother in charge of the Soaring Sky Pavilion, and his power and status gradually stabilized. However, the only thing he didn't go looking for trouble with Lin Yi. What was even more strange was that no matter where Su Lingchong went, he always brought Meng Tong with him, and the two of them were actually inseparable like glue. It even caused Kang Mingming to feel jealous in his heart. He had always considered himself to be Su Lingchong's #1 underling. Now, the trust and importance that Meng Tong obtained were obviously far above Kang Mingming, and what made him even more unhappy and bewildered was that Su Lingchong still insisted that they must call Meng Tong as Brother Meng. To treat Meng Tong, they must be at his beck and call with the utmost respect, just like how they treated him, young Master Su. Damn it, this is simply acknowledging an ancestor. What bewitching soup did this fellow Meng Tong feed to young Master Su, to actually be so good to him? This is too good. Moreover, the relationship between the two of them that was inseparable like glue, in the eyes of Kang Mingming, it was not at all like ordinary friends, or as simple as a superior and subordinate. The feeling it gave others was more like a pair of intimate lovers. Lovers? As soon as this strange thought emerged, it gave Kang Mingming a fright, and the more he thought about it, the stranger he felt. However, he didn't dare to ask much, and could only continue to serve Su Lingchong with a shudder. Kang Xiaoming wasn't the only one who had this suspicion. Everyone else who was close to Su Lingchong had the same question. Two grown men suddenly becoming so close to each other. This relationship was clearly beyond friendship. It was hard not to be suspicious. Chapter 4186. However, like Kang Mingming, they could only keep their doubts in their hearts and did not dare to speak them out. They did not even dare to talk about it in private. If Su Lingchong knew about it, it would not be a joke. In this strange peace, the days passed day by day. The King of Rags was persistent, but there was no sign of it taking shape. Fortunately, under his persistence, the situation in the casting pool did not deteriorate further. It was just in a stalemate at the final juncture, which could be regarded as a blessing in misfortune. Not only that, but Lin Yi was also at a bottleneck. He could only watch helplessly as the peak of the early phase of Golden Core was right in front of him. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break through the last layer of paper. It was really frustrating. Since it was a perfect breakthrough, and since he was the strongest master in the Gold Core stage, Lin Yi thought that this kind of breakthrough in the early stage of Gold Core should be a natural thing. He never thought that he would be stuck at this step. If other masters in the Gold Core stage knew about this, they would really cry. It had only been a few months since Lin Yi had formed his Gold Core, but he wanted to go to the next level without the assistance of any elixirs. How could these Golden Core stage experts, who had been unable to advance even an inch for dozens or hundreds of years, and who had no effect even after taking top-grade medicinal pills, how could they endure this? Since he could not break through, according to his past experience, Lin Yi knew that it was useless to rely on closed-door training at this time. He had to wait for a suitable opportunity, so he simply relaxed his mind and did not insist on breaking through in a short time. Bored, Lin Yi took advantage of his leisure time to refine some elixirs. He asked Hong Zhong to use the channel of the Hong Chamber of Commerce to send the elixirs to the Tiandan Pavilion in Zhongdao. This was something he had planned long ago, which could help to relieve a lot of pressure on Tian Chan. Although Tian Chan was also a master in the early stage of Gold Core, she did not have the magical pesticide cauldron like Lin Yi. She could only guarantee the quality of 4th-grade pills. As for refining 5th-grade pills, it was still very difficult for her at this stage. While sending the pills, Lin Yi also specially wrote a letter to the Will of Heaven, asking him about the bottleneck. Although the Will of Heaven did not have a perfect breakthrough, he was still a senior who cultivated in the creation battle art. His experience should be of great reference value. Soon, Lin Yi received a reply from the Will of Heaven. In the letter, the Will of Heaven said that although Lin Yi had a perfect breakthrough, he had just advanced to the Golden Core stage. It was the stage where he had accumulated a lot of experience. As long as he successfully broke through the first stage of the early stage of Golden Core, everything would be smooth from now on. At this stage, the key was to stabilize one's realm and accumulate one's foundation. This was a matter that could affect the entire Gold Core stage in the future, so he must not take it lightly. Therefore, it was not strange at all to encounter a bottleneck at this time, and it was definitely not a bad thing. Of course, this did not mean that he could not make progress from now on. Everything had to be done in moderation. Once he was stuck in the bottleneck for too long, it would not be a good thing. What Lin Yi needed to do now? Even if he did not insist on a quick breakthrough in a short period of time, he must also make the corresponding preparations and wait for the opportunity to break through. As for how to prepare, the suggestion given by the will of heaven coincided with what Lin Yi himself thought. It was the most stupid and unwise choice to blindly cultivate in seclusion. If he wanted to seize the opportunity to break through, there were only two ways. Either by fighting with others and constantly consolidating the realm in actual combat, or by taking natural treasures and external stimuli to enhance the foundation. It was just that Lin Yi didn't have any of these two methods at the moment. He had lost his Golden Core a long time ago, and his days were peaceful. The only strong enemy he had was Su Lingchong, but he didn't know why he didn't make a move. As for the people around him, they were too weak. He didn't even have a chance to find someone to practice with. At present, the only thing Lin Yi could count on was the trial of the 3 pavilions. Although there were no challenges within the Welcome Pavilion, if one looked at the entire 3 pavilions, there were many experts, and there were many whose strength was above Lin Yi's. In the blink of an eye, the 1-year period of the Welcome Pavilion had arrived. The newcomers of the 3 pavilions gathered in the lobby, each with a nervous heart, waiting for the final critical test that would determine their fate. Whether they could successfully join the 3 pavilions or not, it all depended on today. The newcomer competition was the most important event of the Welcome Pavilion. The 3 pavilions had sent their elders to watch the ceremony, and as the pavilion master of the Welcome Pavilion, Hu Yunfeng, presided over the newcomer competition on the stage. It has been a whole year since everyone joined the Welcome Pavilion. I, the pavilion master, would like to congratulate all the newcomers for finally having the opportunity to officially join the 3 pavilions and become an official outer sect disciple. Hu Yunfeng opened the ceremony with a smile. All of the newcomers immediately revealed expressions of excitement. They had worked hard for a year just for this day. Once they left their status as newcomers and became official outer sect disciples, their status and treatment would increase greatly. This was something they had dreamed of. However, Hu Yunfeng's next words caused some people's expressions to darken. You're right. You're right. But unfortunately, this opportunity is only given to the newcomers who have already reached the foundation establishment stage. As for those newcomers who haven't even reached the foundation establishment stage, I can tell you frankly that you won't even have the opportunity to participate in the newcomer competition. In the future, mine well in Jade's Spirit Hall, cultivate well, and maybe there will be a day where you can make a comeback. But unfortunately, there is no chance today. Hu Yunfeng's gaze fell on the newcomers who hadn't reached the foundation establishment stage yet. Due to the support of Zhongdao Alchemy Hall this year, the cultivation resources provided to the newcomers were far more abundant than in previous years. The success rate of newcomers reaching the foundation establishment stage was as high as 80% or even 90%. But there were still some who couldn't be helped, such as Cha Wu of Blue Cloud Pavilion. Listening to Hu Yunfeng's sentence, Cha Wu's face suddenly turned ashen. Being sent to Jade's Spirit Hall to mine was the most tragic ending. Although there were indeed precedents of a counterattack, it was absolutely rare. Ordinary people couldn't be counted on at all. This time, there was really no future at all. Cha Wu helplessly looked at Xiao Hongkai and the others. He thought that he wasn't much worse than Xiao Hongkai in the past. Why was the situation now so different? He didn't know that Xiao Hongcai's cultivation talent was far above his. Just in terms of conduct alone, she had already left him far behind. Xiao Hongkai could follow Lin Yi with all her heart. Even if she went against everyone, she would never leave or abandon him. But Cha Wu, he was a grass on top of the wall. He only knew to lean towards both sides. Who could blame him for falling into this situation today? Chapter 4187. As for the newcomers who have successfully reached the foundation establishment stage, although you are qualified to participate in the newcomer competition, don't be too happy. Hu Yunfeng continued in a clear voice. According to the usual rules every year, each of the 3 pavilions will only accept 5 newcomers. Therefore, you must compete with each other. Only in the upcoming newcomer competition and get into the top 5 can you truly become an official disciple of the 3 pavilions. As soon as the voice fell, the crowd of newcomers suddenly burst into an uproar. This year, there were very few people like Cha Wu who had not reached the foundation establishment stage, but Hu Yunfeng's words involved the vital interests of most of them. Looking at the 3 pavilions, each pavilion had at least 12 newcomers who had successfully reached the foundation establishment stage. However, there were only 5 places for official disciples in the outer sect. One could imagine how fierce the competition would be. Among the crowd, those who were strong enough to compete for the top 5 were certainly worthy of celebration, but what if they failed? They couldn't follow Cha Wu and the other trash to Spirit Jade Hall to mine, right? That would be too much of a scam. Fortunately, Hu Yunfeng quickly answered their doubts. The newcomers who did not get into the top 5 can continue to stay in the welcome pavilion and take on some duties, waiting for the opportunity to be promoted in the future. The duties in the welcome pavilion that Hu Yunfeng mentioned referred to the position of senior steward. If one could become a senior steward, although it would not be as direct as becoming an official disciple in the outer sect, it would still be considered a good future. However, the position of a senior steward depended on luck, and there would not be a vacancy all the time. Most of the people who stayed here generally took on the role of an ordinary steward, similar to Kong Ming Ming's current newcomer steward, or even worse than Kong Ming Ming. They could only help Hu Yunfeng and the others, and did not have much power to speak of. After hearing this, the newcomers were relieved. As long as they were not sent to the mining area, it was still acceptable. At least they wouldn't be too miserable. Well, what should be said has been said. Next, let's get down to business. The newcomer competition will begin immediately. Hu Yunfeng immediately announced, the rule of this newcomer competition is that there are no rules. The elders of the 3 pavilions will be the judges, and all the newcomers will directly draw lots to compete until the top 5 are decided. As soon as the voice fell, Hu Yunfeng immediately signaled the senior steward of the 3 pavilions. He arranged for all the disciples to draw lots. As it concerned their future, the rookies were in high spirits. One by one, they went to their steward's senior brothers to draw lots. However, when it was Lin Yi's turn, Hu Yunfeng suddenly spoke from the stage. Lin Yi, you are now an early stage gold core expert. According to the rules, you can skip the outer sect official disciple and directly become an inner sect core disciple of the 3 pavilions. You don't have to participate, Hu Yunfeng said lightly. Everyone was stunned when they heard this. However, when they thought about it carefully, it made sense. For a freak like Lin Yi, it was impossible for Lin Yi to defeat him. The other rookies did not even have the courage to face him, much less attack him. What was the point of him participating in the rookie tournament? However, to be able to become an official outer disciple, directly becoming an inner sect core disciple, this kind of treatment made everyone envious. More than 90% of the outer sect disciples of the 3 great pavilions. For the rest of his life, he could only bitterly stop here. The inner sect was something that he could only look at but not reach. This was something that couldn't be helped. To become an inner sect core disciple, the minimum condition was to successfully form one's core. This was enough to keep most people out. May I ask Pavilion Master Hu, does this mean that I have nothing to do with this rookie tournament? Lin Yi asked. That's right. However, the inner sect core disciples of the 3 great pavilions also have an end-of-year examination. Moreover, it will start in 2 days. Although you don't have to participate in the rookie tournament, you have to participate in the end-of-year inner sect disciple competition. This is a special exception made for you by the elders. Hu Yinfeng said lightly with a hint of playfulness on his face. This arrangement was actually Su Lingchong's doing. It was personally proposed by his grandfather, Su Yuanzheng, in the elders' meeting to embarrass Lin Yi. To be able to become an inner sect core disciple of the three great pavilions, every one of them was an elite among the elites. Although Lin Yi was awe-inspiring outside, he was still a newly advanced early-stage gold core expert. Compared to these old gold core experts, there was definitely a big gap. This year's end-of-year inner sect disciple competition was a heaven-sent opportunity to deal with him in a dignified manner. When Lin Yi heard this, he couldn't help but be stunned. He had already faintly smelled the smell of a conspiracy. However, since this was an official arrangement, he couldn't say much. He could only nod his head in agreement and stand aside as an audience. This news quickly reached the ears of Shanghai Laner. Although this little senior sister was naive, she was not stupid at all. She immediately went to find Shanghai Tianhua and wanted him to step in. "Grandpa, it's really inexplicable. Little junior brother was actually arranged to participate in the end-of-year inner sect disciple competition. This is not fair at all. You still have the mood to practice calligraphy here. Why don't you step in and take care of it?" Shanghai Laner shook Shanghai Tianhua's arm and pouted angrily. "Hee, what's unfair about this? Lin Yi is now in the early stage of gold core, and in the last battle, he directly defeated Su Zhaohe in one move. Even some inner sect core disciples can't reach this level. If he doesn't participate in the inner sect competition, is he going to participate in the newcomer competition? Little Lan, do you think that's fair to other newcomers?" Shanghai Tianhua smiled disapprovingly. Shanghai Laner was dumbfounded by the question. After choking for a while, she said unwillingly, "But, little junior brother is still a newcomer after all. You can't specially target him just because he's powerful, right?" Little Lan, although Lin Yi was specially targeted, at the same time, he also got the title of inner sect core disciple. It's not a loss for him, right? What's more, in this old man's opinion, it's hard to meet a good opponent. Instead of wasting time in the welcome pavilion, it's better to have a good fight with these inner sect core disciples. To be able to get this opportunity, I think he's looking forward to it. Shanghai Tianhua continued to write and said with a smile. But even if he doesn't participate in the inner sect competition, little junior brother can still become an inner sect core disciple. This can't be counted as a reward. Shanghai Laner still felt unfair for Lin Yi. Since little Lan said so, it seems that we have to give Lin Yi some real benefits. Shanghai Tianhua shook his head helplessly, and then said with a smile, "So, if Lin Yi can shine in this inner sect competition and get a ranking, I will guarantee him the position of the third pavilion master of the Welcome Pavilion. That's all right, right?" Chapter 4188. The third pavilion master of the Welcome Pavilion was a position that was recognized as gilded. It had always been in high demand. Even the inner core disciples might not be able to fight for it. If a newcomer like Lin Yi could fight for it, it would indeed be a great benefit. The third pavilion master of the Welcome Pavilion? Shangguan Laner tilted her head and thought for a while, then reluctantly nodded and said, "That's more like it." "Grandpa, you can't go back on your words. Let's pinky swear." "Okay, let's pinky swear." The old saying that girls are outgoing is really true. Shangguan Tianhua shook his head helplessly and said, "But let's make it clear first. This matter is only between you and me. You can't reveal it to Lin Yi in advance, understand?" "I know." Shangguan Laner stuck out her tongue cutely. A few days later, the annual year-end competition of the inner disciples finally began. Lin Yi went to the competition venue according to the notice he had just received. This place was not unfamiliar. It was the place where he defeated Su Zhaohe in one move last time, the North Island Arena. However, to Lin Yi's great surprise, this time the newcomers of the Welcome Pavilion were not only him, but also Meng Tong. Looking at Meng Tong with flowing white hair in front of him, Lin Yi could not help but be secretly shocked. This guy's strength was actually at the early stage of the gold core realm. How was this possible? If it wasn't for the golden finger that never made a mistake, Lin Yi even couldn't help but wonder if his eyes were playing tricks on him. During this period, Meng Tong and Su Ling rushed out together, but they rarely met in the welcome pavilion. Lin Yi hadn't seen this person for a long time. However, the last time Su Lingchong brought people to stop him, Meng Tong was also present. At that time, this guy's strength was only at the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm. Now, less than 2 months had passed, and he had actually become a master at the early stage of the gold core realm. Wasn't this too strange? Although Lin Yi himself was an abnormal precedent, it was all kinds of adventures and the best quality medicinal pills. There were also all kinds of heaven-defying golden fingers. It couldn't be said that Meng Tong also had so many trump cards, right? What made Lin Yi even more surprised was that at this moment, Meng Tong was walking with Su Lingchong. When they talked, they seemed to vaguely mention the word dual cultivation. Dual cultivation? Lin Yi was surprised. These two were inseparable, but the problem was that they were both men. Even if Su Lingchong was erased, he wouldn't be able to get rid of him. At most, he was neither a man nor a woman. He couldn't be considered a woman, right? How were they going to dual cultivate? It was really strange. In addition, seeing that Meng Tong was also participating in the inner court competition, Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. This meant that he was forced to participate in the inner court competition. Even if it was really Su Lingchong's doing, this young Master Su at least had not reached the point where he could cover the sky with one hand. Otherwise, there was no need to let Meng Tong follow him as a foil. Moreover, in fact, Lin Yi did not have much resistance to this inner court competition. The inner court core disciples were all masters of the gold core stage. This was a rare opportunity for actual combat experience. He couldn't ask for more. Maybe when the inner court competition was over, the opportunity to break through would come. From then on, he would break through the bottleneck in one fell swoop and become a master of the early gold core stage. That was a great thing. Arriving at the North Island arena, at this time, there were already dozens of people sitting in the surrounding stands. All of them were standing tall and could not be underestimated. These people were obviously masters of the gold core stage. At this time, there should be no idle people waiting here. Lin Yi guessed that the people present should be the core disciples of the 3 pavilions who participated in this inner court competition. Although not all the people had arrived, but at this time, there were at least 70 masters of the gold core stage who had gathered here. In the end, it might even reach 80 or even nearly 100 people. Any master of the gold core stage would be an elite existence in other sects and forces. The 3 pavilions deserved to be the behemoth that dominated the entire North Island. Such a deep foundation was really not a trivial matter. In Lin Yi's view, the 3 pavilions were so powerful that even compared with the top sects in the Middle Island, they were not the slightest bit inferior. It could be seen that the other 4 islands of the so-called Heaven Stage 5 islands were definitely not as simple as the subsidiaries of the Middle Island. The inner court disciples had not yet arrived. Like the others who had already arrived, Lin Yi simply found an empty seat to sit down and wait. At the same time, he paid attention to the people present. The opponents that he would face next were among these people. While Lin Yi was observing his opponents, the newcomer competition of the welcoming pavilion finally came to an end after a few days of fierce competition. However, although it was fierce, in fact, there was a clear distinction between the strong and the weak. Even if everyone was on the same starting line when they first came in, after a year of tug-of-war, their strength was already worlds apart. Even if Lin Yi and Meng Tong, who were monsters in the early stage of the gold core stage, were excluded, the remaining newcomers were still clearly ranked. Taking the newcomers of the Blue Cloud Pavilion as an example, Xiao Ran, Qiao Hongkai, Li Jingming, and Murong Zhen were all masters in the early stage of the Foundation establishment stage. They were undeniably in the first echelon, followed by the rest of the people. As a matter of fact, the results of the newcomer competition did not have any surprises. Xiao Ran won the first place without any commotion, while Qiao Hongkai and Murong Zhen were both injured in the fight, and they ended up tied for second place. As for Li Jingming, he quietly ranked fourth. With Li Jingming's true strength and foundation, even if he was not on the same level as Xiao Ran, he was definitely not below Qiao Hongkai and Murong Zhen. It was just that he was afraid of the blood feud that he had, so he did not dare to show off too much and deliberately reserved his strength. Anyway, as long as he could lock in the top 5, he could become an official disciple of the Blue Cloud Pavilion. As for the first place that everyone yearned for, he did not care at all. Other than strength, everything else was illusory. In the end, Xiao Ran, Qiao Hongkai, Murong Zhen, Li Jingming, and another newcomer of the Blue Cloud Pavilion became official disciples of the Blue Cloud Pavilion. As for the other newcomers who failed in the competition, they could only stay in the welcoming pavilion to do odd jobs. Newcomers like Cha Wu, who had not yet reached the foundation establishment stage, were even more miserable. Long before the newcomer competition began, they were sent to Jade's Spirit Hall to mine. It was an unspeakable tragedy. As for the Soaring Sky Pavilion and Mysterious Pavilion, the final results were also uneventful. What was worth mentioning was that the people who came from the common world, Soaring Sky Pavilions Kong Mingming and Zhong Pingliang, Mysterious Pavilions Dongfang Badeo and Lawless Fist, had all successfully become official disciples of their respective sections. In addition, there was also the Blue Cloud Pavilions Xiao Ran and Lin Yi, the heaven-defying freak. Putting aside their performance on the other islands, at least in the northern region, the performance of the common world people could be said to be brilliant. They completely trampled on the local newcomers of Sky Tier Island, causing a wave of discussion in the streets, and changing people's perception of the common world quite a bit. Chapter 4189. The newcomer competition of the Welcoming Pavilion had come to an end, but the end-of-year competition of the Inner Disciples had just begun at the North Island Arena. The inner core disciples of the 3 pavilions were all present, but what surprised Lin Yi was that not all of the hundreds of Golden Core stage experts present were dressed as inner disciples. Some of them were dressed as outer disciples, but their strength had reached the Golden Core stage. Listening to the discussion of the crowd, Lin Yi suddenly understood that the inner disciple competition of the 3 pavilions was not limited to inner core disciples. Even outer disciples could compete on the arena as long as they were strong enough. If their strength and performance were outstanding, they might be chosen by some big shot and be accepted as a registered disciple. From then on, they would have a meteoric rise. There were many such precedents. For the many inner disciples present, the inner disciple competition was also extremely important. This was a targeted assessment of them by the 3 pavilions. Whether their performance was good or bad was directly related to the allocation of cultivation resources for the next year, so they could not take it lightly. Finally, this year's inner disciple competition officially began. According to the practice of previous years, the person who presided over the inner disciple competition was a senior member of the Elders Guild. This year, it was Su Lingchong's grandfather, Su Yuanzheng. The rules of this inner disciple competition are very simple. It's arena battles. Similar to previous years, this year's arena battles are divided into 2 parts, 1-on-1 and 2-on-2. Su Yuanzheng looked around at all the disciples in the Golden Core stage and announced loudly, "I think you can understand this. After all, after entering the inner sect, it's not just a test of individual strength, but also a test of teamwork." Hearing this, the people in the audience immediately discussed and nodded frequently. After entering the inner sect and becoming a core disciple, they often had to go out to carry out high-level missions, which were extremely difficult and dangerous, and often required teamwork to complete. No matter how strong a person was, if they did not know how to cooperate with others, it would not work. Whether it's 1-on-1 or 2-on-2, only the top 50 can get corresponding battle points. The first place gets 50 points, the second place gets 49 points, and so on. The sum of the 2 results is the final result of this inner disciple competition. If the final result is below 50, then even if you are not directly eliminated from the inner sect, the cultivation resources for the next year will not be given any preferential treatment. You won't get any preferential treatment, Su Yuanzheng looked at everyone and said. When all the inner court disciples on the spectator stand heard this, their expressions couldn't help but become serious. When one reached the gold core stage, it was far more difficult to improve than when one was in the foundation establishment stage. If one didn't have the assistance of a large amount of cultivation resources, then no matter how hard one worked, it would be difficult to improve even an inch in a few decades of closed-door cultivation. If he really fell out of the top 50, it would mean that he would only be able to obtain the most basic cultivation resources. It would be good if he could guarantee that he would not fall. As for the next level, don't even think about it. Alright, those are the rules. You can go back and prepare yourselves. You have 5 days to choose your teammates. The competition will officially begin in 5 days. After Su Yuanjing finished speaking, his gaze paused in Lin Yi's direction meaningfully. Then, he turned around and left the stage with a playful expression. There were nearly 100 Golden Core Stage Inner Core disciples present. Some of the outer sect disciples who came to challenge had friends and acquaintances, and they all sat together in 2s and 3s. Only Lin Yi was alone, and there was no one around. At this time, Lin Yi himself had already realized the problem. He finally understood that he was inexplicably called to participate in the inner sect competition. It was most likely Su Lingchong's doing behind the scenes. His grandfather was the person in charge of this inner sect competition. It would be easy for him to do something. It was really sinister. With Lin Yi's strength and confidence, even if he had just advanced to the early gold core stage, he would not be afraid of a one-on-one battle with these inner core disciples. But the problem was that there was also a 2-on-2 battle. What should he do? There were nearly 100 people present. Other than Su Lingchong, Meng Tong, and Nan Tianba, who was his archenemy, Lin Yi didn't even know a single one of them. Not to mention any acquaintances. Who could he find to team up with? Even with the halo of the newcomer king, he had attracted a lot of attention when he killed Su Zhaohe. But after all, he was still a newcomer. His strength was at the bottom of the crowd. Moreover, the people present were not familiar with him at all. There was no cooperation or tacit understanding between them. Even if some people found him pleasing to the eye, the problem was that if they rashly teamed up with a newcomer who didn't know anything, what if they became cannon fodder? This was not a joke. The risk was too great. But if he couldn't find anyone to team up with, in theory, he could still participate in the team competition. At that time, Lin Yi would have to face a 1-on-2 situation. Unless these inner sect disciples received some benefits and secretly went easy on him, there was no chance of winning. Even if Lin Yi was the strongest Golden Core Stage expert who had a perfect breakthrough, he had just stepped into the Golden Core Stage. If he was in the middle stage of the Golden Core Stage, there was still a possibility of 1-on-2. But he was in the early stage of the Golden Core Stage. Su Lingchong and Meng Tong looked at each other and smiled as they saw Lin Yi frown speechlessly. This time, Lin Yi had really been tricked by them. Hee, Chong, this time you really gave him a big problem. I've known this guy for a year, but I've never seen him so troubled. Today, I've learned something new. Meng Tong said with a smile, taking pleasure in other people's misfortune. Brother Meng, this is just a small punishment. It's just an appetizer. There are still many opportunities in the future. I must make him wish he was dead. Su Lingchong curled his lips with a vicious expression. It's best if I can draw him directly this time. At that time, I can take revenge. Meng Tong nodded coldly. Since his temperament changed greatly, although Meng Tong didn't show that he was gnashing his teeth when facing Lin Yi, it didn't mean that his hatred was worn away. On the contrary, every time he felt the pain of his heart being broken, his hatred for Lin Yi would deepen. He didn't show it in the past because he knew that he didn't have this strength. But now that he was accompanied by Su Lingchong, the situation was completely different. He was now also an early-stage Golden Core Stage expert. Although he might not have a 100% chance of winning if he faced Lin Yi 1-on-1, but if there was a middle stage, golden core stage Su Lingchong, killing Lin Yi would be a piece of cake. He was already hungry and thirsty. Although my grandfather is the person in charge of the inner court competition this time, the drawing of lots is supervised by the Elders Association. It's extremely difficult to tamper with it. Whether I can draw Lin Yi or not, it still depends on luck. Su Lingchong shook his head, and then his expression turned solemn. It's best if I can draw him, but if I can't draw him, I can't lose the bigger picture because of a small gain. The inner court competition this time is the key. As long as I can shine brightly, coupled with my grandfather's operation behind the scenes, it's not impossible to directly get the position of the inner court's second senior brother. Chapter 4190. Su Lingchong was now an expert in the middle stage of the gold core stage, and the position of the Soaring Sky Pavilion steward was a position that belonged to the outer sect disciples. According to the rules, he could not continue to occupy it. Moreover, if nothing unexpected happened, he would definitely join the inner sect. With his ambition and means, it was impossible for him to be willing to be a mediocre inner court disciple. Even if he didn't have the qualifications and resources to fight for the position of the eldest senior brother of the inner court, he could still try to be the second senior brother of the inner court. In this period of time, he had been attending various public events. In fact, this was his plan. He wanted to build momentum in advance. As long as he performed outstandingly in this inner sect competition, coupled with his grandfather Su Yuanjing's secret operation, there was a great hope for him to challenge the position of second senior brother who was in charge of the inner sect. As for Lin Yi, I'll have to deal with him sooner or later. He won't be able to escape from the palm of my hand. Su Lingchong smiled coldly. After Su Yuanjing finished the announcement, the many gold core stage disciples dispersed one after another. Lin Yi could only get up and return to the welcome pavilion, but he was very helpless and depressed. He did not know a single one of these inner sect disciples. Who was he supposed to team up with? Thinking about it carefully, in addition to the group of newcomers in the welcoming pavilion, there was also a rival like Su Lingchong. The people that Lin Yi knew in the three pavilions were not many, not to mention the inner sect disciples. Even the outer sect disciples were not many, and their strength had not reached the gold core stage. Shangguan Laner, Huang Xiaotao, Song Jima, Ragged King, Senior Brother Bitter, and Lu Bianren. Counting them, Lin Yi only knew these 6 people. Among the 6 of them, Lu Bianren was strong enough, but he hadn't shown his face for a long time. According to Senior Brother Bitter, it seemed that he had left the island for a mission. They couldn't even meet each other, let alone be partners. Senior Marshal Brother Ku Bai was very busy with the welcome pavilion, and his strength was far from reaching the gold core stage, so he couldn't help much. As for the Tattered King, he was not good at fighting. Furthermore, he had to keep an eye on the forging pool. As for Song Jima, although he was loyal and had left a good impression on Lin Yi, he hadn't come into contact with him ever since Hu Kai left Tianwu Mountain. Furthermore, he wasn't strong enough. As a result, only Shangguan Laner and Huang Xiaotao were left. Among them, Shanghai Laner didn't participate in the year-end competition, nor did she have the slightest intention to pursue martial arts. In any case, she was an innocent girl. Since she didn't like to cultivate, Shanghai Tianhua couldn't do anything to her. He could only let her have her own temper. If Lin Yi asked her to form a party, she would probably be more than happy to help. Unfortunately, she was too weak, and she wasn't good at fighting. Moreover, she was soft-hearted. It wouldn't be bad if they could be good friends. They could just fight monsters together. This time, the only one left was Huang Xiaotao. Lin Yi thought about it and felt that she was a rare and good candidate. According to the rules, he would be considered an official outer disciple. As long as they succeeded in forming their gold core, they could also participate in the inner disciple competition. Once they participated, they would be promoted to the inner disciple core disciple. The only difference was that if they performed well in the inner disciple competition, they might be accepted as a registered disciple by the elders. However, if they didn't perform well and no one was interested in them, they could only become an ordinary inner disciple and cultivate with the inner disciple steward. Therefore, as long as Huang Xiaotao could successfully form her gold core, she could participate in the inner disciple competition. Moreover, she had been doing trial missions in the Cultivators Guild of the North Island all year round. Her combat strength was also first class among experts of the same level. Lin Yi had witnessed this with his own eyes as early as when Hu Kai was in Mount Tianwu. Even if her jungle invisibility skill and powerful archery skill were not very good in the arena, as long as they were used properly, they would definitely be a threat that couldn't be underestimated. She would be a good teammate. Lin Yi immediately found Huang Xiaotao and told her about the inner disciple competition. So, I'm in urgent need of a teammate now, and I can't find a more suitable candidate than you. I wonder if you're willing to help me, Xiaotao? Lin Yi asked. Of course I'm willing. Huang Xiaotao immediately said happily. She knew that Lin Yi rarely asked for help. Now that he was willing to find her, it just showed her position in his heart. This was a good thing that she couldn't ask for more. That's great. Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. Although he had expected that Huang Xiaotao would be willing to help, and he also felt that she was an excellent teammate, what if she didn't like to fight with others? He couldn't force her to do something against her will. But my current strength is only at the late stage of foundation establishment. I can't participate in the inner disciple competition, can I? Huang Xiaotao suddenly realized after the excitement, and she lowered her head and said weakly. That's okay. Lin Yi had already prepared for this. Hearing this, he smiled faintly and said, I can guarantee that you can form your gold core within these 5 days. How is that possible? Huang Xiaotao suddenly opened her mouth and said incredulously, I'm still 2 levels away from the peak stage of foundation establishment, let alone the gold core formation. Even if everything went smoothly, she would need at least 3 to 5 years before she could start preparing to break through to the gold core formation. If any accidents happened halfway, it would take even longer. Forming her gold core within 5 days? This was simply a fantasy. In the knowledge of ordinary people, it was completely impossible. Do you still have your myriad golden dan fruit? Lin Yi smiled faintly. The reason why he looked for Huang Xiaotao was that Huang Xiaotao was not only suitable to be his teammate, but also essential. It's here. I haven't taken it yet. But even if I take it now, it's useless. This can only let gold core stage experts advance. It can't let me, a late stage of foundation establishment stage expert, directly become a gold core stage expert, right? Huang Xiaotao said in confusion. Then there's no problem. Come with me. Lin Yi smiled mysteriously. Without saying anything more, he hurriedly pulled Huang Xiaotao and ran directly to his cave residence. Huang Xiaotao was immediately embarrassed and blushing. While she allowed Lin Yi to pull her, she couldn't help but let her imagination run wild. What is Lin Yi going to do? He said these irrelevant words at first, then suddenly pulled her to his cave residence in the blink of an eye. Could it be that he wants to, it's so embarrassing. Thinking deeply, Huang Xiaotao's face suddenly turned red. Fortunately, she was wearing a veil. Otherwise, it would definitely attract passers-by to watch. The two hurriedly arrived at Lin Yi's cave residence. Lin Yi gestured for Huang Xiaotao to sit on the bed and said casually, hurry up. You take off your clothes first. Oh. Huang Xiaotao responded subconsciously. Then, she suddenly woke up with a start. Take off my clothes? Yes, hurry up. We don't have much time. Lin Yi replied without turning his head while preparing at the side. Chapter 4191. Then. Okay then. Huang Xiaotao agreed shyly. Her heart had long been tied to Lin Yi. She thought that she would be Lin Yi's woman sooner or later anyway. Although today was a little sudden, it was not unacceptable. Huang Xiaotao shyly took off all her clothes and then lay flat on the bed. She closed her eyes tightly, and her long eyelashes trembled uncontrollably. She was very nervous. Lin Yi turned his head and looked at her body that was as white as jade. He could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva secretly. At the same time, he was also stunned. He asked curiously, "Why are you lying down? Sit up." Ah. Huang Xiaotao opened her eyes and unconsciously looked at Lin Yi. Her face immediately became even redder. She said shyly, "That first time. Do it sitting. It will be uncomfortable." "I heard. Don't girls always lie down?" Lin Yi was immediately speechless. Only then did he realize that Huang Xiaotao had misunderstood him. Just now, he was wholeheartedly thinking about improving Huang Xiaotao's strength. His mind was full of leveling up. He did not think about this aspect at all, nor did he pay attention to Huang Xiaotao's expression. He did not expect to be misunderstood like this. But now that he was suddenly reminded like this, and then looked at Huang Xiaotao's beautiful body, it was as if she was a ripe forbidden fruit waiting to be plucked by him. It was really tempting. I actually did not ask you to take off your clothes because of this." Lin Yi spent a lot of effort to forcibly move his eyes away from Huang Xiaotao's body. He secretly swallowed his saliva and explained, "I want to help you improve your strength. According to previous experience, because the true qi in your body suddenly surges, it may cause your clothes to explode. So, I asked you to take off your clothes first." So that's how it is." Huang Xiaotao was extremely surprised. Lin Yi could actually help others improve their strength for no reason. This kind of thing was simply unheard of. However, Huang Xiaotao couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Even if it wasn't for that matter, Huang Xiaotao was still a little disappointed. But now that she had taken off her clothes and the opportunity was right in front of her, why didn't Lin Yi not take advantage of the opportunity to take her? Was she so unattractive that he actually wasn't tempted after seeing her? As the saying goes, a woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea. The focus of a woman's attention is never something that a man can imagine. Unbeknownst to him, Lin Yi was now thinking about the inner sect competition. From being inexplicably summoned to participate in the inner sect competition, to discovering that Su Yuanzheng was personally hosting it, and now he was forced to find teammates. The meaning of the conspiracy was already very obvious. A little carelessness and he might be tricked by Su Lingchong. Now that he thought about it, it was no wonder that Su Lingchong and Meng Tong were a couple. No matter where they went, they would bring Meng Tong with them. Moreover, Meng Tong's strength had suddenly soared to the early stage of gold core. This was clearly the rhythm of him forming a team with Meng Tong. But he was alone. How could he find someone to form a team with in such a short time? If it wasn't for the fact that it could increase one's strength. If Huang Xiaotao didn't have the myriad golden pill fruit, Lin Yi would have really been tricked by Su Lingchong this time. If he was really forced to fight 1 against 2, he would be helpless. Then he would really become the laughing stock of the 3 pavilions. While Huang Xiaotao was still letting her imagination run wild, Lin Yi was already ready. Without saying a word, he immediately grasped the pulse on Huang Xiaotao's wrist and began to circulate the art of dragon mastery. To increase her strength. You just need to circulate the mantra. Okay. Feeling the warm vital qi that was continuously channeled into her body from Lin Yi's palm, Huang Xiaotao watched helplessly. Huang Xiaotao watched helplessly as it rapidly fused with her own essential energy, growing steadily bit by bit. Only then did she finally cast aside all those miscellaneous thoughts, and her entire person was shocked. This was not an illusion, but a real increase in strength. This move of Lin Yi was simply a godly skill that defied the natural order. After 2 hours, Lin Yi slowly withdrew his palm. At this moment, Huang Xiaotao's strength was impressively already at the perfected foundation establishment stage. What was even rarer was that Huang Xiaotao was calm and composed at this moment. The vital qi in her body was like an arm, without the slightest feeling of being strained. One must know that even after taking a supreme-grade elixir, this kind of sudden increase in vital qi would take at least a few days to be able to control. This move of Lin Yi's was really superb. You first rest here and consolidate your strength. Give me the myriad golden pill fruit, and I will open the furnace to refine the golden pill for you. When you take it, you can break through to the golden core stage in one go. Lin Yi instructed. Oh. Huang Xiaotao nodded obediently. She immediately took out a small wooden box from her clothes, which contained the myriad golden pill fruit, and handed it to Lin Yi. However, after that, she suddenly came to her senses. What? Lin Yi could also refine the golden core stage golden pill? Just as she was about to ask, a situation arose. On the other side, Lin Yi had just nodded and was ready to start refining the elixir. At this moment, someone suddenly touched the cave residence's restriction outside the door. Huang Xiaotao was suddenly shocked. She was now naked, and it would not be good if she was seen by others. She quickly shrank under the quilt on the bed and wrapped herself tightly, not daring to show her head. Lin Yi frowned. Originally, he did not want to pay attention to it. Right now, refining the golden core stage golden pill for Huang Xiaotao was the most important thing. Everything else was fleeting. And normally, the people who would come to find him were Shanghai Laner, senior brother Ku Bai and the others. When they found that no one agreed, they would naturally leave, and it would be fine after a little explanation. What Lin Yi did not expect was that the person who came had no intention of giving up. Not only did he not retreat, but he also touched the restriction more violently. If this continued, perhaps the next moment, he would directly destroy the cave residence's restriction. After all, this was just a newcomer's cave residence, and the level of the restriction was very low. Anyone with a slightly higher strength could easily destroy it. In desperation, Lin Yi could only get up and open the door. However, the two people standing at the door made his eyelids twitch. It was actually Su Lingchong and Meng Tong. Pretentious leader, you took so long to open the door. What are you doing sneakily hiding inside? Meng Tong glanced disdainfully at Lin Yi and smiled sinisterly. After holding it in for so long, now it was finally the time to hold his head up high. At this moment, his heart could be said to be indescribably refreshed. Even the haze of the heartbreaking pain that happened twice a day could be temporarily left behind. In his eyes, the day of Lin Yi being stepped on by him was not far away. No matter how powerful Lin Yi was, he was only at the early stage of the gold core realm. He, Meng Tong, was also at the early stage of the gold core realm. Moreover, his strength was obtained through dual cultivation with Su Lingchong, so he was much stronger than the ordinary early stage of the gold core realm. Even if Lin Yi had the record of killing Su Zhaohe in one move, which was also not to be underestimated, he could cooperate with Su Lingchong. Once they fought, there was no room for discussion. Lin Yi's glorious days were gone forever. Chapter 4192. How is it, Lin Yi? Have you found a partner? Su Lingchong instead spoke complacently in a superior manner. If you really don't have one, this young master can open his mouth and introduce one to you. Of course, you can also directly admit defeat and give up the competition. After all, the inner court grand competition is no small matter. Even if you're lucky and don't die with this little strength of yours, it's easy for you to be crippled. That would be too miserable, don't you think so? Both of you came here just to tell me this? Lin Yi glanced at the two of them and said indifferently, then I really have to thank both of you for your good intentions. I can find my own partner. Ha! We can be considered to be old friends that have dealt with each other for so long. There's no need to put on airs before us, right? There's no need to be courteous with this young master, and there's no need to be embarrassed. If you need, I can really introduce a partner to you. I can't just watch you become the laughingstock of everyone, right? How pitiful would it be if you can't even find a partner? Ha 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 ha. Su Lingchong laughed wantonly. Of course, he wouldn't be so kind as to introduce a partner to Lin Yi. Not to mention it was impossible for Lin Yi to agree. If he agreed, then he would be courting death. He didn't have to guess to know that this partner would surely be a person of his, Su Lingchong's. That person was absolutely a real-time bomb, and there was no room for discussion. There's no need to say anything further. Both of you, please return. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with the two of them and was about to directly close the abode. You're in such a hurry to make us leave? Meng Tong had a rare opportunity and was about to ridicule them when the corner of his eyes suddenly swept the scene within the abode, and he was instantly stunned. At this moment, Su Lingchong noticed that something was off within the abode as well. There seemed to be a person curled up within the blankets on the bed, and most importantly, there were women's clothes that had been taken off at the side. Su Lingchong's face instantly went grim, and he spoke swiftly and sternly. Is it that bitch, Shangguan Laner? Although he couldn't be considered as a man now, and he didn't have any improper thoughts towards Shangguan Laner, his heart was still twisted. So long as he saw Shangguan Laner together with Lin Yi, he would be extremely displeased in his heart. His heart was extremely unhappy, and he wished that he could chop this adulterous couple into pieces on the spot. Without waiting for Lin Yi to react, Su Lingchong dashed in like an arrow right away, and without saying a word, he wanted to flip the blanket off. This wasn't completely a momentary impulse, but he had a plan. In his opinion, if his guess was correct, and the person on the bed was indeed Shangguan Laner, then as long as the matter of Lin Yi having an affair with her was exposed, it would definitely affect Lin Yi's future. If everything went well, it was even possible to ruin Lin Yi's future. It must be known that the customs of Heaven Stage Island were basically inherited from ancient times. Even cultivators were still very strict about men and women. If Lin Yi and Shangguan Laner were husband and wife, it would have been fine. However, the two of them did not have any status now, so they were unscrupulously together. If this matter was spread out, it would be more than just immoral. It was simply a slap to the face of the big boss, Shangguan Tianhua. At that time, they didn't even need to do anything. Shangguan Tianhua would be the first to not let Lin Yi off. Su Lingchong suddenly rushed in, and even Lin Yi was caught off guard. Seeing that Su Lingchong was about to flip the blanket off, he reacted, and instantly chased after Su Lingchong in a flash. Even if it wasn't Shangguan Laner, Huang Xiaotao was completely naked inside. How could he let Su Lingchong, this bastard, see it? Lin Yi moved later, but arrived first. He grabbed Su Lingchong's collar from behind, and then his true qi burst out and suddenly pulled. Su Lingchong was actually forcefully pulled by him, and he continuously retreated several meters before crashing into the wall with a bang. The strength was so great that it almost destroyed the cave abode's restriction. Fuck, you're courting death. Su Lingchong fell into a state of confusion, and immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation. He crawled up and was about to make a move. After all, he was a middle-stage golden core expert, and was only in a slightly sorry state. He didn't suffer any injuries at all. If he wasn't caught off guard, it wouldn't be possible for Lin Yi to succeed so easily. Meng Tong, who was standing beside him, was also eager to give it a try. This time, it was Lin Yi who made the first move, and he couldn't blame anyone else for seeking death. The three great pavilions had a rule that one couldn't take the initiative to attack a fellow sect member, but there was no rule that said that one couldn't defend themselves when being attacked. However, before the two of them made a move, Lin Yi was the first to sneer and say, "Senior brother Su, the two of you are trespassing into the cave abode? The day of the inner court competition is just around the corner, and if this were to be known by the higher-ups, do you think you still want to participate in the inner court competition? Ha! You! Humph!" Su Lingchong was suddenly choked and speechless. Only then did he realize that he had trespassed into the cave abode first. According to the rules of the three great pavilions, no matter what he did, it was wrong, and the other party could kill him. Meng Tong could only helplessly stop, but he still refused to leave just like that. His pair of eyes stared straight at the quilt on the bed, and he couldn't wait to reach out and pull the quilt open to see the appearance of the person inside. What? The two of you still don't want to leave? Does this mean that you want me to ask someone to send you away? Lin Yi stood between the two of them and the bed, and said coldly. We'll see. Su Lingchong retreated in the direction of the door, pretending to be weak, but he secretly gave Meng Tong a look, indicating that the two of them should make a move at the same time from the left and right. As long as the quilt could be lifted and it was confirmed that the person inside was indeed Shangguan Laner, then even if he was charged with trespassing into the cave abode, it would be fine. At that time, the focus would definitely be on Lin Yi, and this guy would definitely die miserably. Lin Yi saw the intention of the two of them, and he secretly thought that it was not good. The other party was in the middle stage of the Gold Core realm, and the other was in the early stage of the Gold Core realm. If they really made a move at the same time, it was almost impossible for him to stop them with his strength alone. Just when the two of them were confronting each other, there was a sudden sound of footsteps outside the door. It was senior brother Ku Bai, Xiao Ran, and the others who heard the vibration just now rushed over. Junior brother Lin, are you okay? The cave door was wide open, and senior brother Ku Bai looked at the tense confrontation in the room and couldn't help but ask worriedly. I'm fine, let's see if senior brother Su and senior brother Ku Bai are okay? Lin Yi sneered and glanced at the two of them. You're lucky today. Brother Meng, let's go. Su Lingchong saw that the situation was not good. Although he was unwilling, he could only leave with Meng Tong first. With so many people watching, if they continued to forcibly make a move, even if they really found out that it was Shangguan Laner, it would not be good for them. Because in that case, the first thing that Shanghai Tianhua would do was not Lin Yi, but the two of them. They couldn't bear such anger. Watching the two of them leave unwillingly, Lin Yi was relieved. After telling senior brother Ku Bai and the others, he finally closed the cave abode and let Huang Xiaotao out. Have they left? Huang Xiaotao carefully poked her head out of the quilt. Chapter 4193. It's alright, they're just two idiots. Don't worry about them. I'll immediately refine an Aurus core for you. When you become an expert of the Aurus core stage, we'll team up and beat them up. Lin Yi said with a smile. NN. Huang Xiaotao nodded repeatedly. Just now, when Su Lingchong was about to attack and tear off the blanket, she was really frightened. Luckily, Lin Yi's reaction was fast enough. Otherwise, her pure body would have been exposed. Lin Yi immediately prepared to refine the pill. However, just as he sat down, he suddenly noticed something out of the corner of his eye. There seemed to be something extra in the corner of the wall. It just happened to be where Su Lingchong had hit the wall. It seemed like Su Lingchong had dropped it there. And looking at the appearance of the thing, it was pitch black like an ordinary stone, but it seemed to contain a profound secret. At first glance, it seemed to be a little familiar. Lin Yi was stunned for a moment, but then his eyes suddenly lit up. He hurriedly walked over and picked it up. After carefully examining it, he was instantly overjoyed. It's actually a star ink stone. Su Lingchong has given us a big gift. After Lin Yi confirmed it, he couldn't help but be overjoyed. Although the majority of this star ink stone had already been used up, and there wasn't much power of the stars and the ocean left, according to Lin Yi's previous experience, it was still enough for a person to make a perfect breakthrough. This time, Huang Xiaotao could also make a perfect breakthrough and condense the 10,000 gold pill. Lin Yi was just worrying about this problem. After all, Huang Xiaotao could be considered one of them. If it was just a normal breakthrough, it would be a little regretful. He didn't think that this idiot Su Lingchong would actually take the initiative to deliver it to him. He really didn't know what to say. This was really a good person who thought of others and was anxious for others. From Su Lingchong to Meng Jueguang and Meng Tong, this group of people had always done good deeds without leaving any traces. Every time they gave something, it would be just right, and each time it was bigger than the last. If not for the fact that he was straight, Lin Yi would have suspected that this group of people didn't really love him. Star Inkstone? What's that? Huang Xiaotao blinked her eyes in her blankets. This is something you can't buy no matter how much spiritual jade you have. You'll know in a while. Lin Yi smiled and began to concentrate on alchemy. He had previous experience. Now that it was the second time to refine a Jindan golden pill, the process could be said to be safe and smooth. A myriad crossing golden pill fruit, together with the supplementary materials that Lin Yi had given him before, finally succeeded in refining a supreme-grade Jindan golden pill. Although there was no extra surprise, it was enough. Lin Yi immediately ordered Huang Xiaotao to consume this freshly refined top-grade golden core. At the same time, he helped her extract and condense the energy of the stars and the energy of the ocean from the star inkstone so that she could make a perfect breakthrough. In the eyes of others, a perfect breakthrough to the golden core realm was a shocking feat. It was even rarer to help someone make a perfect breakthrough. However, since Lin Yi had his own experience of making a breakthrough and had previously assisted Tian Chan and Sydney, he was very familiar with this matter. Time passed by in a flash. Huang Xiaotao, who was in the cave, had a look of disbelief on her face as she felt the changes in her body. Even though Lin Yi had explained it to her very clearly, she still felt that it was unreal. She felt like she was in a dream. I'm an expert in the early golden core realm? Huang Xiaotao spun around gracefully and said with excitement and fear. Before this, the gold core stage was only a level that appeared in her dreams, let alone the gold core stage. Even if it was the great perfection of the foundation establishment realm, it would be very good if she could reach it within 10 years. If she really relied on her own strength to condense the golden core, she would not have such great potential. Even if she could, it would be at least a few decades later. Although she had a myriad crossing golden pill fruit, it was a holy fruit of such a level. It was extremely difficult to find someone to refine a golden core realm golden pill. Even if she found an alchemist of a sufficient level, she might not be able to successfully refine the pill. After all, for most alchemists, the higher the grade of the pill, the lower the success rate. This was common sense that no one could avoid. If Huang Xiaotao really took this 10,000 crossing golden dan fruit out to beg others, not only would she have to spend a large amount of spirit jades, but the final result would most likely be that she would losing everything she had invested. However, not only did Lin Yi know alchemy, but he also succeeded on the first try. Even if Huang Xiaotao did not have much experience, she at least knew that this golden core realm golden pill was a 5th grade pill, and it was the best among 5th grade pills. Ordinary alchemists could not refine it at all. For a moment, Huang Xiaotao looked at Lin Yi with a strange light in her eyes. Since the first time she met Hu Kai at Tianwu Mountain, she suddenly found that her life had become wonderful. Every time she saw Lin Yi, there was an unexpected surprise. The level of a golden core realm expert was so far away, but now it was easily achieved, and all of this was Lin Yi's doing. He had both strength and character, knew alchemy, and could help others achieve a perfect breakthrough. With all these things added together, Lin Yi was simply a mysterious man. Such a man was enough to move the heart of any girl. Especially when he was so good to her, Huang Xiaotao. Not only did he save her life, but he also helped her recover her appearance and increase her strength. It would be strange if Huang Xiaotao was not moved by him. Thinking of this, Huang Xiaotao suddenly tiptoed and kissed Lin Yi's cheek. Then, she hid in Lin Yi's arms with a cry, her face blushing to the ears. "Then, why don't you take me today?" Huang Xiaotao blushed and mustered her courage, whispering in Lin Yi's ear. One had to know that Huang Xiaotao was naked at the moment. Such a peerless beauty was rubbing against his arms, and she said such heart-pounding words. If it was anyone else, they might not be able to control themselves. Even with Lin Yi's amazing self-control, he couldn't help but feel restless at this time. He even couldn't help but want to do Huang Xiaotao on the spot. However, when he thought about it, there was not much time left. The inner disciple competition was approaching. The matter between men and women is attractive, but it is also easy to make people intoxicated and lost. The inner disciple competition is coming soon. I should help you consolidate your strength as soon as possible. Let's study together and discuss how to cooperate when the time comes. Lin Yi relied on his last bit of willpower and swallowed his saliva with difficulty. NN. Huang Xiaotao was stunned for a moment, and then she nodded repeatedly with an embarrassed expression. She blushed and felt embarrassed in her heart. I was indeed too anxious. At this critical moment, if I were to waste my strength because of this and cause the inner court competition that was right before us to be affected, then it would be too late for regrets. Chapter 4194. Oh. Huang Xiaotao lowered her head shyly. As she put on her clothes, she said, I'm good at very few martial arts techniques. You should have seen them when we were at Mount Hutsai Tianwu. It's the jungle concealment technique and archery technique. That's all. I see. Lin Yi couldn't help but ponder. He had already seen the power of this martial arts combination. In the jungle, it was simply a domineering existence. If it was used to deal with spirit beasts, it was a combination that could dominate the world with one move. However, if it was used to fight openly, this combination not only had no advantage, but would naturally fall into a great disadvantage. Whether it was the jungle concealment technique or the archery technique, once it was on the ring, the effect would inevitably be greatly reduced. And if it was 2 against 2, Huang Xiaotao would easily become the opponent's breakthrough. Lin Yi was not a defensive expert, it was difficult to take care of her. Their martial arts techniques were not very compatible with each other. At that time, it was very likely that Huang Xiaotao would not be able to help Lin Yi, but would instead become his burden. There were only 2 days left. The problem of mutual cooperation must be solved. Huang Xiaotao had just advanced to the early stage of the Gold Core realm. Even if it was a perfect breakthrough, her strength could be imagined. Among the many inner core disciples, she must be at the bottom. If her martial arts technique was also inferior, there was really no way to compete. In this way, the situation of the inner disciple competition was still not optimistic. Lin Yi couldn't help but ponder. With the combination of him and Huang Xiaotao, it would not work if he wanted to rely on pure strength to crush the opponent head-on. Moreover, because of the existence of Huang Xiaotao, the weak link, once they fell into a protracted battle, the situation would also be very disadvantageous. The only way was to end the battle quickly. And if he wanted to end the battle quickly, it was definitely impossible to rely on his own strength. He must also integrate Huang Xiaotao's strength. It was best for the two of them to find a way to complement each other and cooperate with each other to exert the greatest power. They would strive to kill one of the opponents in the beginning, then it would be easy to fight. Xiaotao, your mental cultivation method is of the fire attribute, right? Lin Yi suddenly asked. He had already noticed this when he infused genuine qi into Huang Xiaotao, but he still had to confirm it personally. Yes, that's right. Huang Xiaotao nodded. I can make an issue out of this. Let me think. Lin Yi closed his eyes and pondered for a moment. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, he suddenly opened his eyes and slapped his thigh. That's right, it's this. At this moment, he was thinking about the joint attack mental cultivation method he had obtained from the Zhuang clan in the secular world. If this mental cultivation method was only used by one person, it would only be of little value. However, if 2 people used it together, it would be extremely mysterious. Not only could it perfectly superimpose the strength of 2 people, but it could also be used by 2 people together. It could even achieve the astonishing effect of 1 + 1 being greater than 2, forming an even more powerful combination. As long as this joint attack was used properly, for example, when 2 experts with the strength of the early Golden Elixir realm attacked together, the power produced by the joint attack would be equivalent to that of the Golden Elixir realm. It was comparable to the full force attack of a late-stage Golden Elixir realm expert, and it was indeed extraordinarily powerful. What do you think? Have you thought of any good ideas? Huang Xiaotao's beautiful eyes shone brightly as she waited for Lin Yi to surprise her once again. There is a way, but what I thought of was a joint attack mental cultivation method. Now, we only have 2 days. Lin Yi could not help but frown. Although the cultivation method could be changed once in the way of heaven, it was impossible for Huang Xiaotao to cultivate it again from scratch. Only 2 days was simply impossible. It was really too late. Moreover, he had not studied this joint attack mental cultivation method in detail. It was still unknown whether it could be used by a golden elixir realm expert. After all, this was a mental cultivation method that had been passed down in the secular world. It was very likely that it would be the same as other mental cultivation methods. After reaching the way of heaven, there would be no follow-up. Oh, then let's think of something else. It is indeed very troublesome to cultivate a mental cultivation method from scratch. It would be better if it was a martial skill. Huang Xiaotao comforted. That's right. Lin Yi's eyes lit up when he heard this. It was unrealistic for Huang Xiaotao to cultivate this joint attack mental cultivation method from scratch, but what if he created a joint attack martial skill? With the Universal Practitioner's Arts and the Universal Practitioner's Arts, it wouldn't be hard for him to create a combo attack as long as he used it as a reference. He had created quite a few techniques before, but they weren't combo techniques. Creating a joint attack martial skill on his own could be tailored for Huang Xiaotao. This was much easier than letting her cultivate a mental cultivation method again. Although 2 days were tight, if everything went smoothly, it should be barely enough. Time was pressing. Lin Yi immediately began to practice in the cave according to his own ideas. Although it was only a short period of time, he had already thought of a very suitable martial skill in his mind, the Frenzy 8 trigrams palm. Huang Xiaotao cultivated a fire attribute mental cultivation method, so she could naturally use the Frenzy Fire Fist. In theory, she could also practice the Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm. Of course, Lin Yi did not want Huang Xiaotao to practice the Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm. Even if she could practice it, both of them could only use the Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm. It could not be greater than 2, and it would not be enough to deal with the next inner disciple competition. What Lin Yi was going to practice and create at the moment was the Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm. One person played 2 roles, continuously activating the genuine qi, fumbling and practicing. Huang Xiaotao stood aside and watched. Although she could not understand the martial skill moves he was practicing, she was now a new Gold Core Realm Master, so she could still feel the profoundness of it. Finally, Lin Yi slowly stopped after trying dozens of times. How is it? Huang Xiaotao asked quickly. Not bad, this is the move, the Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm. Lin Yi nodded with satisfaction and then said, Come, I will teach you now. After saying that, Lin Yi immediately explained to Huang Xiaotao in detail, from the tricks of activating the genuine qi to the specific moves, he taught her step by step. There was only one purpose, which was to let Huang Xiaotao quickly master it in a short time. In terms of potential and talent, Huang Xiaotao was actually far superior to ordinary people. Otherwise, with her weak background, she would not have been selected to the Soaring Sky Pavilion together with Su Zhaohe. Lin Yi's new fiery 8 trigrams palm strike, on the other hand, was tailor-made for Huang Xiaotao. He guided her through it step by step, teaching her the ropes step by step. It didn't take long for Huang Xiaotao to get the hang of it. Although at the beginning, she was only imitating and did not have much skill, with her comprehension, as long as she practiced well with Lin Yi in these 2 days, when the inner disciple competition came, it would be enough to come in handy. Every time she practiced, Huang Xiaotao's understanding of the Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm deepened, and her shock and admiration for Lin Yi also increased. Chapter 4195. In such a short period of time, they were actually able to deduce and create a martial technique out of thin air. Although it was only a single move, it was a martial technique that was tailor-made for the two of them. Not to mention creating it, ordinary people would not even dare to think about it. But Lin Yi not only could create it out of thin air, but this Frenzy 8 trigrams combined strike didn't have any signs of being put together at the last minute. Instead, it had a profound foundation, and its intricacies were comparable to those traditional techniques that had been passed down for hundreds and thousands of years. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, Huang Xiaotao wouldn't have believed that this was a technique that Lin Yi had created in such a short period of time. Not only could it increase one's strength, but it could also create a golden elixir, and now it could even create a technique. Other than admiring Lin Yi even more, Huang Xiaotao was a little dumbfounded. There was actually such a powerful person in this world. Even the legendary miracle Dr. Zhang Liju wouldn't be as powerful as him, right? In fact, he might not even be as powerful as Lin Yi. After all, the legend of Master Zhang had only been passed down from mouth to mouth, while Lin Yi's miracles were something that she had seen and experienced with her own eyes. In the remaining time, Lin Yi and Huang Xiaotao stayed in the cave, practicing the newly created Frenzy 8 trigrams combined strike. Although it was a new creation, it was naturally easy for Lin Yi to master, and Huang Xiaotao was getting better and better at it. Her cooperation with Lin Yi was getting better and better, and when Lin Yi felt that it was almost complete, the two of them tried to activate it together, and the power was actually comparable to the peak of the golden elixir late stage. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's deliberate control, the power of this move would have been enough to pierce through the walls and seals of the cave. Huang Xiaotao herself was shocked, and Lin Yi nodded in satisfaction. Of course, he was confident in the technique he created, but he had only set the power at the golden elixir late stage, and he didn't expect that he had underestimated the power of this combined strike. Frenzy 8 trigrams combined strike. The power was equivalent to the full blow of a master at the peak of the late stage of the gold core realm, and the two of them were only at the early stage of the gold core realm. Such a martial arts technique was simply heaven-defying. If the two of them could increase their strength a little more, they would truly be invincible in the golden core stage. If they brought Huang Xiaotao along when they went out in the future, they could directly launch a joint attack at anyone they didn't like. Any golden core stage expert would be crippled even if they didn't die. Soaring Sky Pavilion. After returning from Lin Yi's cave abode, Su Lingchong and Meng Tong were not reconciled at all. They did not intend to let Lin Yi off so easily. It was not appropriate for them to continue staying there, so they specifically instructed Murongzhen to keep an eye on Lin Yi's immortal's cave. Once she saw Lin Yi or Shangguan Laner coming out, she should immediately report to them. However, the two of them did not expect that they did not have to wait for Murongzhen's news at all. As soon as they returned to the Soaring Sky Pavilion's territory, they saw Shanghai Laner. The two of them were stunned on the spot and scratched their heads together. What the hell is going on? Why is the woman on Lin Yi's bed not Shangguan Laner? There were only a few female cultivators in the 3 pavilions. They could be counted on one hand. Except for Shanghai Laner, who else would hook up with Lin Yi? When Shanghai Laner saw the two of them, she turned her head in disgust. She pretended not to see them and was about to walk past them. At this time, Su Lingchong suddenly grinned. He took the initiative to walk up to her. Junior sister Lan, long time no see. How have you been recently? Su Lingchong greeted her with a smile. It's nothing. Senior brother Su, what can I do for you? Shanghai Laner's eyelids suddenly twitched. This guy has not bothered me for a long time. Why is he sticking to me like a piece of sticky candy today? So annoying. As Shanghai Laner spoke, the little curly bear next to her dragged the big scissors from before and swaggered in the direction of Su Lingchong, cutting wildly. Those who were a little timid would probably be frightened by this little guy. Especially Su Lingchong. Last time, it was this giant scissors that cut off his family jewels. Now, this scene was simply like sprinkling salt on his wounds. That was not enough. He had to add a little cumin. Even Shangguan Lan, was startled by this scene. She didn't expect that the little fellow would dare to provoke her. She quickly stepped forward and shielded it behind her. If Su Lingchong became angry out of humiliation and decided to kill the little curly bear, she wouldn't be able to stop him with her strength. However, to the great surprise of Shanghai Laner, Su Lingchong was not angry. Instead, he smiled indifferently, as if he did not take it to heart at all. If there is something, then there is really something. I think it is necessary to let junior sister Lan know. You should be mentally prepared first. Su Lingchong pretended to be mysterious. Oh. What's the matter? Shanghai Laner frowned and looked at him. She thought to herself, this annoying guy, what tricks does he want to play? I just returned from Lin Yi's abode, and I found a woman on his bed. She had even taken off her clothes. Sigh. Su Lingchong pretended to be regretful as he shook his head. But junior sister Lan, don't be anxious. Some men like to fool around as long as they have a bit of strength. It's human nature. Lin Yi is a man as well, and he has needs in this aspect as well. The reason why Su Lingchong deliberately told Shanghai Laner about this matter was none other than to create trouble for Lin Yi. Since the woman in his abode wasn't Shanghai Laner, then he would use this matter to sow discord and let Shanghai Laner cause trouble herself. At that time, Lin Yi would surely be unable to take care of himself, and even if he participated in the inner court competition, his condition would surely be greatly reduced. Truthfully speaking, although Su Lingchong was an intermediate stage Golden Core realm expert now, and he was proud of his success and had made a strong return, but at least he had learned his lesson, and he didn't dare look down on Lin Yi. Now that he was dual cultivating with Meng Tong, he would surely be invincible in a dual fight, and there was no doubt about this. However, if it was a one-on-one fight with Lin Yi, even though he still had the certainty of winning, he still had to be careful. After all, no matter what, Lin Yi had instantly killed Su Zhaohe, who was an intermediate stage Golden Core realm expert, with a single move. Su Zhaohe wasn't a simple figure, and if they were at the same level, Su Lingchong admitted that he might not be able to win for sure. Thus, it could be seen that Lin Yi was similarly extraordinary, and he had to be on guard. So, with this opportunity to discuss Lin Yi, Su Lingchong naturally wanted to make use of it. If he was able to make Shanghai Laner fall out with him directly, or even turn them into enemies, then it couldn't be any better. Even if he couldn't do that, he could at least distract Lin Yi, so why not? Really? That's great. Shanghai Laner's reaction greatly exceeded his expectations, and not only did she not have the slightest intention of getting angry, she was instead extremely happy. Chapter 4196. Su Lingchong was dumbfounded. He and Meng Tong looked at each other as if they had seen a ghost. Su Lingchong still didn't give up and asked tentatively, Junior sister Lan, aren't you angry at all? Angry? Angry for what? Why should I be angry? Shanghai Laner looked at him strangely, and then continued to jump excitedly. That's great, I'll go and have a look now. After that, Shangguan Lan, grabbed the little curly bear and walked briskly toward the welcoming pavilion, leaving Su Lingchong and Meng Tong dumbfounded and unable to close their mouths for a long time. Chong, is that Shanghai Laner confused because of anger? Or is she just a silly girl? Meng Tong couldn't help but twitch his mouth. Looking at Shanghai Laner's cheerful back, it didn't seem to be fake. Besides, such a spoiled young lady didn't have such deep shrewdness and acting skills. Maybe. Su Lingchong was also speechless. After a while, he shook his head hard and said, Forget it, let's not care about that silly girl. Brother Meng, the inner disciple competition is around the corner. Let's go back and practice together. The inner disciple competition is full of masters. With our current strength, if we don't cultivate tacit understanding, it will be difficult to shine. Well, okay, Chong, let's go back and practice together now. In this inner disciple competition, we must amaze the world with one brilliant feat. Meng Tong immediately said with high fighting spirit. The inner disciple competition was not only the perfect stage for Su Lingchong to announce his strong return, but it was also the first opportunity for Meng Tong, or more accurately, the Meng Tong who had changed his temperament greatly, to appear in the whole 3 pavilions for the first time. There was no room for failure. After saying that, the two immediately left hand in hand, leaving the passers-by looking at the two's overly intimate back, pointing at them and discussing in private. They walked lightly all the way to Lin Yi's cave residence. Shanghai Laner took the little curly bear to touch the cave residence's restriction. Chapter 4197. Lin Yi was secretly shocked at that time, but he did not think deeply about it. While Lin Yi was observing the surroundings, the gold core stage experts around him were also secretly watching him. To be more precise, they were observing Huang Xiaotao, who was wearing a veil. In the 3 pavilions of the North Island, there were very few female cultivators, and those who could reach the gold core stage were even rarer. Looking at the whole audience, Huang Xiaotao was the only female cultivator participating in the inner core competition. Apart from her, there was only Shanghai Laner who was watching from the audience stand. It was impossible for Huang Xiaotao not to be noticed. That Huang Xiaotao, how did she suddenly become an early-stage gold core stage expert, and even with Lin Yi? Su Lingchong could not help but be surprised. He had a good understanding of the gold core stage experts of the 3 pavilions, but he had never thought that Lin Yi would find such a partner, which really caught him off guard. Lin Yi is really a playboy. He even wants such a disfigured woman. He really doesn't care about anything. Meng Tong sneered at the side. I think he is cornered and forced to find such a partner. Although I don't know when Huang Xiaotao formed the gold core stage, but looking at her momentum, she should have just broken through not long ago, and her strength is very limited. Su Lingchong sneered and said, hee hee, 2 early-stage gold core stage experts, they don't even know how they will die. Let's just watch. While the crowd was discussing, the inner core competition finally officially began. Today, the first one, Feng Tian, was going to fight one-on-one, and the opponent was decided by drawing lots in public. What was interesting was that Lin Yi, the famous newcomer king of the Welcome Pavilion, was the first to be drawn to the arena, and his first opponent was Yu Daong, an outer official disciple from Blue Cloud Pavilion. Yu Daong was an early-stage gold core stage expert from Blue Cloud Pavilion who had recently emerged. Before, he had always been unknown, and no one had ever paid attention to him. In comparison, Lin Yi, the newcomer king, was much more eye-catching. Everyone's gazes were focused on Lin Yi. Some were playful, some were contemptuous, and some were indifferent. Everyone wanted to see for themselves how capable Lin Yi, the newcomer king, was. With his hands behind his back, Lin Yi stood calmly at the side of the arena. When Yu Daong stepped onto the stage, his originally calm aura suddenly skyrocketed. A moment ago, it was still calm and tranquil, but in the next moment, huge waves surged into the sky, causing everyone's expression to change. Feeling such a terrifying aura, Yu Daong's expression suddenly showed a bit of hesitation and struggle. They were both at the early stage of gold core, but comparing their auras, how was it like they were at the same level? The first round of the inner disciple competition, Lin Yi vs Yu Daong, begins. The judge announced. This was actually an expert of the nascent soul stage. At this moment, he wasn't suppressing his strength, but rather revealing it to the fullest. This was also the first time that Lin Yi had seen an expert of the nascent soul stage in the 3 pavilions. As for the other big shots, usually, he didn't show his strength. His golden finger couldn't be used beyond his level, so he didn't know the strength of Shanghai Tianhua and the others. He only knew that their aura was threatening. Everyone in the arena looked solemn at the same time. They were ready to observe Lin Yi's strength. Although Yu Daong of Blue Cloud Pavilion was not strong, Lin Yi was only at the early stage of gold core after all. He should be able to deal with it. However, Yu Daong's next reaction was beyond everyone's expectations. Wait, I give up. Yu Daong suddenly raised his hands and shouted, his face flushed. For a moment, there was a sudden uproar in the arena. The sounds of ridicule and abuse were endless. However, Yu Daong still didn't change his original intention. After glancing at Lin Yi, he turned around and left the arena. This scene not only surprised everyone in the arena, but even Lin Yi himself was a little stunned. The first round was the most ruthless elimination round. Once lost, there was no need to think about what would happen next. Normal people would try their best to fight for even if there was only a 10% chance. Who would be like Yu Daong and directly give up? If Yu Daong was facing an expert in the late stage of Gold Core who was several levels higher than him, or even higher, it was understandable. However, Lin Yi was only in the early stage of Gold Core. Little did he know that even if they were both in the early stage of Gold Core, there was still a huge difference in their strength. Lin Yi was able to kill Su Zhaohe in one move. With Su Zhaohe's strength, it was absolutely not a problem for him to kill Yu Daong in one move. Letting him fight with Lin Yi, wasn't that courting death? Yu Daong still had this bit of self-awareness. As long as one's strength reached the early stage of Gold Core, so long as one participated in the inner court competition, then no matter what the final result was, one would surely be able to become an inner court core disciple in the end. The only difference was none other than whether one was fancied by a big shot of the higher-ups and was taken as an honorary disciple. That was all. Yu Daong had never had any background. Although he had extravagant hopes that one day he would be able to obtain the favor of a big shot, he knew that this was basically extravagant hopes. So long as he was able to advance to become an inner court core disciple, he would have achieved his objective this time. If he thought too much about other things, it would be purely fleeting and would only harm himself. Trash. Coward. Su Lingchong, who was below the arena, couldn't help but curse hatefully when he saw this. Although he didn't expect this unknown Yu Daong to be able to directly kill Lin Yi, he was still an early-stage Gold Core expert after all. At least, he had to cause some trouble for Lin Yi. What the hell was the point of directly admitting defeat? Meng Tong, who was at the side, also gnashed his teeth in hatred. The inner court competition was such a crucial occasion, yet he made his opponent surrender without a fight. What kind of prestige was this? The reputation of Lin Yi, the newcomer king, was really resounding now, causing others to be envious to the point of going mad with jealousy. On the other side of the spectator stand, Shanghai Laner was extremely excited. Although she was very confident in Lin Yi, those that were able to participate in the inner court competition were all Gold Core experts. This was a completely new battlefield for Lin Yi, and it would be a lie to say that she wasn't worried in the slightest. Even if Lin Yi was able to instantly kill Su Zhaohe and possessed formidable strength, he wasn't someone that was easy to deal with. Even a rabbit would bite when cornered, not to mention a dignified Gold Core expert. Even if Lin Yi won in the end, what if he was injured? She didn't expect this Yu Daong to be so tactful. He took the initiative to admit defeat without saying a word. Little junior brother passed the stage easily without any surprise. However, Shanghai Tianhua, who was pulled to the side to watch the battle, looked indifferent from the beginning to the end, without any surprise. Hee, Grandpa, do you think this Yu Daong is a friend of little junior brother's acquaintance? Otherwise, why would he admit defeat so easily? Shanghai Laner was happy for Lin Yi while she couldn't help but ask curiously. With her identity, the inner court competition was nothing new. She had seen the excitement many times before, but this kind of direct admission of defeat was very rare. Even if there were a few times, it was because there was a great disparity in strength between the two sides. This was the first time that an expert of the same level directly admitted defeat. Chapter 4198. Heh, you'll have to ask them that themselves. If he isn't, this old man will have to look at this Yu Daong even more highly. Shangguan Tianhua said with a faint smile. Ah. He is so cowardly. Grandpa, you still look up to him? Shanghai Laner could not help but be surprised. Although she was very happy that Yu Daong took the initiative to surrender, it was entirely because of Lin Yi. Normally, she would look down on such a spineless person? Cowardly? It can be regarded as cowardly, but in other words, it can also be said to be wise. Yu Daong saw it very clearly. Although both of them are in the early stage of gold core, he is not Lin Yi's opponent. Instead of taking a meaningless risk, it is better to admit defeat directly. This is also a kind of wisdom and courage. Shanghai Tianhua commented. This is wisdom and courage? I really don't understand. Shanghai Laner stuck out her tongue cutely. Shanghai Tianhua smiled and did not continue to say more. People like Yu Daong would never grow to the height of Lin Yi in the future, but this did not mean that they were useless. This kind of people who knew when to advance and when to retreat were also rare talents. Even if they were not as brilliant as a genius like Lin Yi, there were many things that were safer and more reliable to let them do. Of course, this had already involved the use of manpower, which was not something that a little girl like Shangguan Laner could understand. Shanghai Tianhua naturally would not play the lute to a cow and waste his saliva. In the first round of the inner disciple competition, there were a total of 100 matches. All of them would end in one day, and the top 100 would be directly determined. If it was simply one match after another, even if they did not stop until tomorrow morning, they would not be able to finish the matches. Therefore, the first round of the single competition was carried out at the same time. In the North Island arena. Other than Lin Yi's arena, there were 4 other arenas on the side. 5 matches would be held at the same time, and Lin Yi's was the first to finish without a doubt. On the other 4 arenas, Lin Yi was the first to finish. At the moment, they were fighting fiercely. Among these 4 matches, Huang Xiaotao happened to be in one of them. At this time, her opponent was also a new outer disciple in the early stage of gold core. His name was Wu Bufan, but he was not from Blue Cloud Pavilion. He was from Mysterious Pavilion. The luck of this draw was quite good. Looking at the whole arena, the early stage of gold core was the lowest, and his opponent was a new outer disciple in the early stage of gold core. However, this Wu Bufan was after all a disciple of Profound Secrets Pavilion, and he was also an early-stage gold core expert. His experience was much more experienced than Clear Cloud Pavilion's Yu Daong. Under the premise that both sides had the same level of strength, experience could play a crucial role in a battle, and it could affect the outcome of the battle. Even if there was only a 5% chance, he would try his best to turn it into a 10% chance. And he would never admit defeat like you. To you. You. He was not the famous newcomer king, Lin Yi. In terms of experience, Huang Xiaotao was also a new expert in the early stage of gold core. Moreover, she was an outer disciple of Blue Cloud Pavilion with a weak foundation. In terms of experience, Wu Bufan, a disciple of Mysterious Pavilion, had a higher chance of winning. Both sides got into formation on the stage. Wu Bufan was still a little afraid of Huang Xiaotao. But when he saw Huang Xiaotao's bow and arrow, he suddenly laughed. This was not the deep mountains or forests. This was an empty arena with a radius of hundreds of feet. There was no cover, and it was a one-on-one battle. Using a bow and arrow in this kind of situation, an expert of the same level could easily avoid it. Wasn't it a joke? Then, when the referee gave the order, Wu Bufan saw that Huang Xiaotao's figure began to gradually become blurred, but there was no way for her to completely disappear. He could see that this was clearly a concealment martial skill. However, in this kind of situation where there was no cover, it could not be used to its full effect. It could only make the figure slightly blurred. What was the use of this? Let me give you a piece of advice. This junior sister of Blue Cloud Pavilion should quickly admit defeat. Your martial skill and weapon are simply a disgrace in the arena. It's better to be sensible and go down yourself. Otherwise, you'll get injured for nothing, Wu Bufan said with the air of a senior. If it was said that the odds of winning were 60% to 40%, then after Huang Xiaotao revealed her martial skill and weapon, it was already 80% to 20%, or even 90% to 1%. In today's first battle, he, Wu Bufan, was already 90% sure of winning. I appreciate your kindness, but I still want to try. Under the veil, Huang Xiaodao's voice was calm. This time, she was suddenly pulled by Lin Yi to participate in the inner disciple competition. Although Huang Xiaotao did not think about getting a good ranking, as long as she could help Lin Yi in the 2-on-1 battle, she was already satisfied. However, this did not mean that she had no initiative in the 1-on-1 battle. She was soft on the outside but hard on the inside. Her character had never been weak. Even if she did not want to get a high ranking, she would definitely go all out. TSK, young people nowadays really don't know how to appreciate favors. Wu Bufan shook his head and curled his lips as he sneered, "Fine, I'll let you understand today that this arena isn't a place that an ignorant woman like you should come to." After saying that, Wu Bufan suddenly made a move. However, Huang Xiaodao's movement was faster than him. Before he could move, a long black arrow had already whistled. The speed was far faster than his imagination. Huang Xiaodao's arrow speed was originally extremely fast. Now that her strength had reached the early stage of the gold core realm, it was naturally extraordinary. Especially in these 2 days, Lin Yi had specially taken time to teach her the technique of vital energy jet. Basically, the speed of the arrow had already reached the limit of the giant bow in her hand. An ordinary person would not be able to react at all. Fortunately, they were standing far away from each other at the beginning. Wu Bufan was finally able to react and barely avoided the first arrow. Even so, he could not help but be frightened and break out in cold sweat. If he was not careful, this arrow would really cut his throat. In the arena, life and death were indisputable. If Huang Xiaotao really killed him with this arrow, not only would she not have to bear any responsibility, but she would also be looked up to by others. This time, Wu Bufan did not dare to take it lightly. After avoiding the first arrow, he quickly took the opportunity to pounce towards Huang Xiaotao. It was common sense that archers were not good at close combat. As long as he could get close to her, Huang Xiaotao would still lose. However, Huang Xiaotao obviously would not let him get what he wanted so easily. Distance was an archer's lifeline. She understood this more than anyone else. In the past, in countless adventures in the jungle, there were several times when she was almost killed by spirit beasts at close range. In this aspect, she could be said to be experienced in hundreds of battles. Huang Xiaotao quickly moved her feet and shot an arrow from time to time, blocking Wu Bufan's path forward. Chapter 4199. Every single arrow was extremely precise and swift, forcing Wu Bufan to have no choice but to stop and dodge with all his might. After the time for an entire incense stick to burn, Wu Bufan exhausted a great deal of effort yet was still unable to catch up to Huang Xiaotao, and it was even to the extent that he wasn't even able to close the distance between them in the slightest. This unexpected scene of being unable to part from each other truly caused everyone below the arena to be shocked. Huang Xiaotao, this woman, seemed to be extraordinary. If they were in a jungle, Wu Bufan probably wouldn't even know how he died. However, although everyone thought highly of Huang Xiaotao, they still felt that Wu Bufan had a higher chance of winning. After all, this was a 1-on-1 battle. No matter how good Huang Xiaodao's archery was, it couldn't make up for this natural disadvantage. This stalemate situation couldn't be maintained forever. When Wu Bufan closed the distance, everything would be over. However, among the crowd, only Lin Yi didn't have the slightest worry. In his eyes, Huang Xiaotao would win this battle. Even if they were both in the early stage of the gold core realm, even if Huang Xiaodao's martial arts and weapons were not suitable for 1-on-1 battles, she was the strongest gold core realm expert who had a perfect breakthrough. She was definitely not an ordinary early-stage gold core realm expert like Wu Bufan. As time went by, this duel between Huang Xiaotao and Wu Bufan, which originally didn't attract much attention, gradually attracted the attention of the audience, and there was a lot of private discussion. Wu Bufan couldn't hold back anymore. Although most people were optimistic about him, Huang Xiaodao's bow and arrows didn't have eyes. If he was careless and touched by one of the arrows, or even hit a vital position like the throat, it would be a joke. Gritting his teeth, Wu Bufan finally didn't dare to hide anything anymore. In an instant, he increased his speed to the extreme. After closing the distance between him and Huang Xiaotao, he suddenly raised his hand and swung it in Huang Xiaotao's direction. A dark green light. Then, at a speed that was difficult to be seen by the naked eye, it went straight to the opponent's vital point. Hidden sword, a hidden sword that was poisoned with the world's strange poison. Unless there was a unique antidote, anyone who touched it would die. This was Wu Bufan's trump card that he had carefully prepared, and it was also his last card. He didn't want to use it in the first battle, but now he had no other choice. Wu Bufan specially practiced for several years. The speed of the hidden sword was not slow, and Huang Xiaotao had adapted to the rhythm of the previous unilateral suppression of the bow and arrows. For a moment, he was unable to react. According to his calculations, there was at least an 80% chance that the hidden blade would succeed. Ding! The crisp sound of metal colliding rang out, accompanied by the gasps of surprise from the audience. Wu Bufan's wishful thinking had instantly fallen through. Huang Xiaotao had actually used her bow and arrow to block the fatal hidden blade in the sleeve head-on. Such a reaction. This level of precision was simply unimaginable. It could be called a godly technique. If it was anyone else in the arena, even if they were stronger than Huang Xiaotao, they wouldn't be able to do so. However, this move of using bows and arrows to block the hidden sword was something that they would never be able to do. If this wasn't a godly skill, what was? All of a sudden, everyone looked at Huang Xiaotao in a different light. Putting everything else aside, just this female cultivator's archery skills alone. He truly lived up to the name of a godly archer. However, Wu Bufan's experience was vividly displayed at this moment. He was even more shocked than everyone else, yet his footsteps didn't stop in the slightest, and he actually seized this critical moment to instantly catch up to Huang Xiaotao and arrive less than 3 m away from her. The dust had settled. No matter how brilliant and magical an archer's archery was, once they were in close combat, they would definitely lose. Not only did the audience think so, but Wu Bufan also thought so. The corners of his mouth unconsciously curled into a proud smile. Although this Huang Xiaotao was powerful, he still had the last laugh. After all, the older the ginger, the spicier it was. At this moment, Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh because the outcome had been decided. Pooh! A pitch-black bow and arrow suddenly pierced Wu Bufan's chest. Wu Bufan fell to the ground, still looking at Huang Xiaotao in disbelief. The audience was also dumbfounded. Even if they were beaten to death, they would never have thought that an archer would directly stab her opponent's chest after being in close combat. Furthermore, her movements were unusually skillful and coherent, without any signs of jerkiness. This woman simply didn't play by the rules. Unbeknownst to them, this move was completely created by Huang Xiaotao herself. It was an emergency move when a powerful spiritual beast was in close combat. Although it didn't seem like a technique at first glance, it was honed by life and death situations. It was almost an instinctive reaction, which was unusually practical and effective. Sir Referee, does this count as my win? Huang Xiaotao looked at Wu Bufan, who had fallen to the ground, and turned to ask the referee. Even the referee couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. He then asked someone to carry Wu Bufan away for treatment, and at the same time, announced that Huang Xiaotao had won the first battle. Xiaotao, you've won this battle beautifully and brilliantly. Lin Yi smiled as he walked up to congratulate her. Huang Xiaotao's performance in this round was indeed remarkable, and he couldn't help but praise her. Not at all, I was just lucky, that's all. Huang Xiaotao lowered her head shyly, but in her heart, she was secretly happy for Lin Yi's praise. At this moment, Shanghai Laner was also extremely happy for Huang Xiaotao. Lin Yi won without a fight, and Huang Xiaotao won so brilliantly. The two people that she cared about the most had a good start, so of course she was in a good mood. Shanghai Tianhua, who was sitting next to her, looked at Huang Xiaotao with an obvious look of surprise. Based on his experience and knowledge, there were very few things that could surprise him, but Huang Xiaotao's performance really surprised him. Huang Xiaotao's amazing archery skills and the last unexpected arrow were secondary. This performance only showed that Huang Xiaotao was very talented, but it was not enough to surprise Shanghai Tianhua. What Shanghai Tianhua really cared about was that when Lin Yi challenged Su Zhaohe a while ago, Huang Xiaotao was watching the battle beside him. At that time, she was only in the late stage of foundation establishment, but now she suddenly became an expert in the early stage of gold core. Not only that, she was actually an expert with the strongest potential of a perfect gold core. Under normal circumstances, it might not be obvious whether it was a perfect breakthrough or not, but with Shanghai Tianhua's shrewd eyesight, as long as Huang Xiaotao made a move, he would already be able to see some clues. First, there was Lin Yi, and now there was Huang Xiaotao. When did there become so many experts with the perfect gold core? While Shanghai Tianhua was bewildered, the first round of the single elimination battle on the ring was still going on. This time, the one who went on the ring was Su Lingchong, who had been the focus of attention recently. Under the gaze of the audience, Su Lingchong calmly walked onto the ring. Chapter 4200. At the same time, he also released the powerful aura of the intermediate stage of the Golden Core realm without holding anything back. However, although the person in charge of the inner court competition was his grandfather, Su Yuanzheng, Su Lingchong's luck in drawing lots this time could not be said to be good, and could even be said to be extremely bad. Because the opponent he drew was actually an extremely experienced inner court core disciple, and his strength was at the advanced stage of the Golden Core realm. An expert at the advanced stage of the Golden Core realm was absolutely worthy of the word expert when placed in the audience, but Su Lingchong was only at the intermediate stage of the Golden Core realm, and there was a gap of 2 whole levels between them. Even if he had a monstrous reputation, even if he had a deep background, at this time, facing the absolute gap in strength, what use was it? This was an experienced inner court core disciple, and his power and influence were completely ignored by him. Facing such a strong opponent, almost everyone was not optimistic about him, but Su Lingchong did not have the slightest bit of worry. Until the referee announced the start of the battle, the corner of his mouth still hung an extremely confident Lin Yi, who was below the arena, took a look at Su Lingchong's expression at this moment, and he could not help but be surprised. This expression did not seem to be faked. Could it be that this guy really has the strength to challenge someone 2 levels above him? Very quickly, the battle began, and Su Lingchong's performance made everyone present dumbfounded. Facing the opponent, a late-stage Golden Core realm expert, he, a middle-stage Golden Core realm expert, actually suppressed his opponent from the beginning to the end. In front of him, his opponent actually did not have the slightest advantage, and was instead forced to retreat step by step, unable to turn the situation around, until finally, he was beaten down by Su Lingchong, and the outcome was decided. For a moment, the audience was silent. A middle-stage Golden Core realm expert actually completely crushed a late-stage Golden Core realm expert. Who would dare to believe this? But the bloody truth was placed in front of their eyes. Everyone could not help but believe that Su Lingchong, young Master Su, was actually able to crush his opponent 2 levels above him, and this strength was simply heaven-defying. Compared to everyone who was looking at each other in dismay, at this moment in Shanghai Tianhua. In his heart, he was even more shocked, because he suddenly discovered that this Su Lingchong was actually also a Golden Core realm expert who had a perfect breakthrough. This discovery even made this top big shot of Shanghai Tianhua speechless. What exactly is going on with the 3 great pavilions this year? What kind of heaven-defying luck is this, and there are so many geniuses? That was not all. On the other side, although Meng Tong's strength was only at the early stage of the Gold Core realm, he easily killed his opponent who was also at the early stage of the Gold Core realm in a second. His performance was not as shocking as Su Lingchong's. But it was equally eye-catching. Another perfect Golden Core stage expert. Shanghai Tianhua was stunned. With the addition of Lin Yi and Huang Xiaotao, there were now 4 perfect gold core experts. There were very few people who could make a perfect breakthrough and form the 10,000 gold core. Even in 100 years, there wouldn't be one. It was because of this that they received the reputation of being the strongest golden core stage expert. However, all of a sudden, 4 masters of the perfect gold core stage appeared, and they were all concentrated in the 3 pavilions of the North Island. This situation was so strange that it made people's hearts tremble. Even with Shanghai Tianhua's knowledge, he had never seen or heard of such a thing. As the top figure of the 3 pavilions in the North Island, Shanghai Tianhua was puzzled, and he couldn't help wondering if it was a coincidence. Or was there an invisible hand behind the scenes pushing for it? Otherwise, why would there suddenly be so many perfect gold core experts? Su Lingchong and Meng Tong. What kind of fortuitous encounter did these 2 guys have? I'm afraid it's because of that star ink stone. But it's the star ink stone. When did it become so much? It shouldn't be. Among the crowd, Lin Yi couldn't help but frown. These 2 people were his sworn enemies, and they were thresholds that he had to cross head-on. Even though he'd already taken precautions against these 2 people when he met them earlier, he'd never imagined that these 2 people would actually become so troublesome to deal with. Especially Su Lingchong, he was actually strong to such a shocking extent. If he were to meet Su Lingchong one-on-one, unless Lin Yi used his ultimate weapon, he wouldn't have much chance of winning. On the other side, Nan Tianba and the 2 Southern Sky Gate brothers were also watching the show from the crowd, admiring Su Lingchong's powerful strength. Nan Tianba was an inner core disciple of the early gold core stage. This time, he was also participating in the inner disciple competition, but it wasn't his turn yet. He was waiting for the next step to draw lots. Although Southern Sky Gate's strength wasn't at the gold core stage, it wasn't difficult for him to sneak in and watch the show with his identity. Of course, if he was just an ordinary outer disciple, he wouldn't even be able to step within a few miles of the North Island's arena, let alone watch the inner disciple competition. After all, the strength of a gold core stage disciple could already be regarded as the foundation of a sect, and this had to be kept strictly confidential. Big brother, this young master Su's strength is so heaven-defying. Do you think we should find a chance to curry favor with him? Otherwise, if we become enemies in the future, it won't be a joke. Southern Sky Gate suggested in a low voice. Curry favor with him? Nan Tianba's mouth twitched. His personality had always been overbearing, and he rarely lowered his head to others. However, after thinking about it, the current situation was indeed stronger than him. This Su Lingchong was so powerful that it wasn't good to offend him, so he could only change the topic and say, "It won't be easy to explain to shopkeeper C, right?" Nominally, he and the 2 Southern Sky Gate brothers had already become outer members of the center, and they followed Si Haishao. Bullshit. I've asked around in private. When this young master Su came back, Si Haishao immediately came over to curry favor with him, but he didn't tell us. Southern Sky Gate curled his lips. Really? Then we can give it a try. Otherwise, when Su Lingchong really makes it big, we'll be reduced to the sidelines, and won't even be able to get a share. Nan Tianba nodded thoughtfully. While the 2 brothers were whispering to each other, they suddenly felt someone pat them from behind. They were shocked, and when they turned around, they looked at each other in shock. The person in front of them was the traitorous disciple, Yuzhe, who had disappeared for a long time. At this moment, he was standing there with a proud smile on his face. Carrying the crime of murdering his master, even if Yuzhe wasn't wanted by the disciplinary hall, he was still a street rat that everyone wanted to beat up. When he suddenly disappeared, he should have disappeared from the face of the earth. Who would have thought that after such a long time, this brat would still dare to appear in front of everyone, especially in front of the 2 Nan Tianba brothers? Nan Tianba was instantly enraged. He still wanted to take revenge for his 3rd brother, Nan Tianyong. Previously, he wanted to cut Yuzhe into 1,000 pieces as a living sacrifice, but this brat had disappeared from the face of the earth, using some unknown method to escape. Now that they suddenly met again, how could he not be angry? Nan Tianba was about to explode on the spot, but the Southern Sky Gate next to him quickly stopped him. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.